Back with you in Jacksonville. Jaguars mascot doing his pregame thing. A little pregame bungee jump as we are just about ready for the Jaguars and the San Diego Chargers. Mike McCoy now 20-22 in his 2+ seasons. To see where the Chargers stack up, bottom of that AFC West, and Jacksonville in a position that few of the experts predicted they'd be in here in week number 12. You see Gus Bradley pacing the sidelines, how far this franchise has come under his watch as they've won 2 straight and 3 of the last 4. Chargers win the toss, they defer, interestingly enough, as their defense will be on the field to start. Beautiful weather here at the opening kick.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thanksgiving weekend. We've got ourselves some football being played here. 2 really good quarterbacks. One has already reached that elite status in Phillip Rivers, but you get the sense that Blake Bortles is growing before our very eyes, and this could be a signature game for him going up against a quarterback that he respects in Phillip Rivers.
Josh Lambo, their rookie kicker, has had a solid opening campaign in the NFL, and back deep is Denard Robinson. And he will take a knee to give Blake Bortles the football from the 20 to start this game. And here comes Bortles. Back-to-back game-winning drives orchestrated in the fourth quarter, including that Week 11 victory here over the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, but what he'll tell you is the fact that, they've been able to get the ball into the end zone. What he wants to avoid is throwing those critical interceptions. He's thrown in interceptions in 6 consecutive games. More importantly, he wants to avoid the dreaded fourth quarter turnover in today's game.
Now, that has been an issue for them all season long, something that he's touched on in our conversations with him. 6 interceptions in the fourth quarters of games this season, most in the NFL. This is T.J. Yeldon, plenty of open grass in front of him. First down run on the catch and run, 21 yards, finally brought down by Jaleel Addae.
Everyone's asking, is this a young team that may be, a little bit inebriated off their success, having won 3 of the last 4? This tells you no. They're calm. They're solid and focused in today's game. Getting that ball out to T.J. Yeldon in space, if he can run it today and then catch it like that, that bodes well for this offense.
Yeldon has gone for 60+ scrimmage yards in each of their last 6 games. Play action from Bortles on 1st and 10. Julius Thomas was covered over the middle of the field, and that pass intended for Allen Robinson falls incomplete. Good coverage down the field by the Chargers. Stefan Wisniewski, last 4 years in Oakland, plenty of experience against the San Diego Chargers team. Won the starting position for them in the preseason. Meantime, Julius Thomas, whom I just mentioned, that 5-yard game-winning touchdown reception against Tennessee here last week. They have been well-rested since that point, 10 days since the victory over the Titans. They're hoping that Thomas now can be spurred on with that catch over the final 6 games. 2nd and 10. This is Yeldon. Finds a very narrow window to run through. Crosses the 45. Brought down by Manti Te'o after a nice run of 7. How about the defensive starters? A much maligned defensive unit under John Pagano. Sean Lismore, question mark. A concussion he sustained last week, but he is up. Manti Te'o, his 2nd game since returning from the 4-game injury absence with the ankle. And Jaleel Addae, another guy who suffered a concussion in that loss against the Chiefs last Sunday, and he is up for the Chargers. Bortles from the gun, number 33. Nice pickup on the blind side. It's underneath to Yeldon. First down, catch and run. And Yeldon just kind of lost his footing as he runs inside San Diego territory. 14 yards, but upset with himself as he hits the turf.
Yeah, now they've got to put the safety, Eric Weddle, just got to make that tackle. He's in man-to-man coverage against Yeldon coming out of the backfield, but you're right. Got to pick your feet up. The turf monster can get you. He understands. He tackled himself on that play, but they had the matchup they wanted on 3rd down. They had Weddle locked up and matched up against T.J. Yeldon. Yeldon won the one-on-one match.
See Yeldon, what he has done in terms of a pass catcher over the course of the season. Yeldon on the ground, 2nd in the NFL in rushing attempts among rookies, 3rd in rushing yards as he approaches 600 for the season. What a future this kid has in front of him.
He's just one of the young, talented players on this football team, certainly on offense. The 2 wide receivers, Allen Hurn, Allen Robinson, in their 2nd year. Yeldon in his 1st year, playing with a 2nd-year quarterback in Blake Bortles.
And I don't think David Caldwell, their general manager, Sam, has gotten enough credit for the team that he's built. Took him a couple of years, but all of these young players now starting to come into their own week in and week out. What a snatch by Allen Robinson. Speaking of some of these young nucleus players, first down, a pickup of 25. Bortles to Robinson.
How about Bortles? They were blitzing on that play. They had one-on-one coverage on the outside. You can see this is going to be Robinson coming down with it against Jason Verrett. But they read the blitz coverage. They knew they had one-on-one on the outside, and he's going to give Robinson, Hearns, the ball and the opportunity to make the catch in those 50-50 opportunities when they're one-on-one.
And you see Robinson's average yards per reception better than 17 per game to lead the NFL. First and 10, that cast quick strike is caught by Julius Thomas, a Pro Bowler for Denver each of the last 2 years, but it has been a longer transition than he anticipated. He spoke about that this week.
Yeah, but you know what? He is a good player, and they've got plenty of football left in the season. I think he's going to factor in, and he could factor in right here inside the red zone, particularly if they get the matchup they want. Julius Thomas on one of the linebackers for the Chargers.
Thomas lines up in the slot towards the top of your picture. Jacksonville has not been good in the red zone. You saw that number. Bortles throwing a little fade pass intended for Hearns in the back corner of the end zone. Good coverage on the play by Brandon Flowers. Hearns is banged up, Solomon. He's got a number of injuries. His foot was in a walking boot a couple of weeks ago, and also dealing with some lower back injuries as well.
Yeah, he had a touchdown in 7 consecutive games, had that streak snapped at the Thursday night game, and I think it's because he is playing hurt. He is playing at less than 100%, but the fact that he's on the field, he's going to lure coverage maybe away from Robinson toward himself. It allows the other receivers to get open. And now here on 3rd 7, they'll look to go to one of the slot receivers, either tight end at the top or Walters at the bottom.
On 3rd and 7, will slant pass. That's Hearns. But he will come up well short. Jacksonville needed about the 2.5-yard line for the first down. So now Jacksonville, in their last 12 trips inside the end zone, Solomon, just 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, they didn't even take a shot at the end zone. They threw that well behind or underneath the first down marker. I thought Bortles could have made a better decision there and maybe gone after one of the receivers who were attacking a little bit deeper down the field in the end zone.
22-yard attempt here for Jason Myers. Had a game winner against Baltimore on the road a couple of weeks back from 53 yards out, and he's perfect here on the chip shot to get Jacksonville on the board early. Tuesday on CBS, it's everyone's favorite red-nosed reindeer in high definition. Gather the family for a special presentation of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Tuesday night, 8/7 Central, only CBS. No better way than to get into the holiday spirit. And we will be watching on Tuesday night. It was interesting. Mike McCoy winning the toss, he deferred to put his defense on the field first, the unit that's really struggled.
Yeah, and they struggled on that first possession, allowing the Jaguars to go right down the field. Didn't come up with the necessary stops that they needed.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. MetLife. Contact a MetLife Premier Client Group representative today. And by the new 6th Gen Intel Core processor. It's Intel's best processor ever.
Aerial coverage of today's game being provided by MetLife. High above Everbank Field, just outside downtown Jacksonville. Temperatures right around 75 degrees. Not a cloud in the sky as Phillip Rivers and his San Diego offense take the field for the first time. Rivers has been very good statistically against Jacksonville over the last 4 meetings, including last season. Some pre-snap movement. Looked like Chris Clemens may have come across before the football was snapped. Jerome Boger, our referee.
Offside. Defense, number 91. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Now, Phillip Rivers last weekend, his worst statistical game of the season, and he has played at an MVP level, Solomon, all year.
Yeah, but last week he was really, I think, bothered by the pass rush. Low in terms of passing yards, didn't have a touchdown pass in that game against Kansas City. And that's what Jacksonville wants to try to duplicate, the same pressure on Phillip Rivers this week.
Clemens was indeed the man penalized, so 1st and 5 They mark it just inside the 25. Here's Rivers. After the spin, out of the backfield, this is Melvin Gordon, who has struggled. Gordon with a first down on the catch and run after a pickup of 16 yards. We mentioned the injuries that they've had up front. Both King Dunlap, DJ Fluker are down, so Kenny Wiggins and Chris Hairston, as Hairston makes the 7th start of the season, take their spots. And the return of Malcolm Floyd. The Chargers hoping that his return will buoy this offense that really struggled to get anything going in that 30-point loss last week to the Chiefs. Melvin Gordon blown up in the backfield. It's Paul Puslesny, who once again has been Jacksonville's defensive MVP. And this defense has been resurgent over the last 4 weeks during this stretch that they've won 3 of 4. Tyson Alualu back in the starting lineup. As Derek Marks is out for the year. So the linebackers and Jonathan Cyprien, since the start of last season, leads all NFL defensive backs in tackles. They lose 4 on the last play, so it sets up a 2nd and 14.
Now they're going to get Melvin Gordon out of the backfield and in space.
Once again, Jaguars coming across. Could be a free play for Rivers. Throws it down the field. It is intercepted by Telvin Smith. We'll see if this play will stand. It was Andre Branch that came across, it looked like, before the ball was snapped. 30 yards on the return by Smith.
Outside, defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
This time it's Andre Branch at the top of the screen. The last time it was Chris Clemens. We talked about the fact they want to get pressure on Phillip Rivers. They know that he is a stationary quarterback, but you've got to be able to watch the snap. You can't be so in a hurry to get to the quarterback that you jump the snap and risk the penalty. And they're giving up yards right now to the Chargers offense.
Branch had that sack of Marcus Mariota on the final play of the victory over the Titans here last week. Danny Woodhead flanking Rivers, takes the give on the draw play here on 2nd and 9. But that Jacksonville defensive front was right there, and this has been a different group, Solomon, during the last 4 weeks.
They have really turned it up. You can tell they're settling in to this defensive scheme brought in by Gus Bradley. There are a lot of young players on this defense, but they do have the veteran presence of a Paul Puslesny. Very astute, intelligent quarterback, or I should say linebacker, 9 years in the National Football League, plays with a very high football IQ.
Rivers on 3rd and 8, slings it far side, right through the fingertips of Stevie Johnson. Chargers will punt.
This is something that really hurt this offense 1 week ago. This is a perfect play. Well designed. He comes underneath. He makes that catch. Spiro, it's going to be a first down for the San Diego Chargers. They're going to stay on the field, but now they've got to punt it. It's something that really hurt the offense 1 week ago, and we saw Phillip Rivers grow tremendously frustrated with those kind of plays.
Johnson with the Chargers for the first season has not had the kind of impact that they were hoping for. Certainly not with the injuries that they've had to deal with. Keenan Allen, of course, done for the season, and Malcolm Floyd banged up as well. 45 yards on the punt from Cypress. Next Thursday, it's a rivalry matchup between the Packers and the Lions on CBS and NFL Network. And in 2 weeks, the Vikings and the Cardinals show off. That game will be only on NFL Network as the postseason races heat up on both sides of the NFL landscape, AFC, NFC. You see what Green Bay has done or haven't done. First time they've had to deal with some serious question marks, specifically with that offense and Aaron Rodgers. See the fans hanging out in the swimming pool high above the field at Everbank Field. Such a unique setting here in Jacksonville. Bortles under center. This is Yeldon on 1st and 10. Salma, we've done a number of Jaguars games here the last couple of years, and there's certainly something that feels different about this team. We know they're in the postseason conversation, but the biggest reason has been the improved play of Blake Bortles.
Yeah, and what a difference a year makes, right? Year one from year two for Blake Bortles, where he's improved in every single area in terms of touchdown passes, passing yards per game, and then the ability to create big-time plays down the field. 25 passes of 25 yards or more. It tells you he's creating big-time plays in this offense.
Bortles going play action on 2nd and 7. Swings it over the middle. He's got Hearns for the first down. And this offense is humming at the start. Hearns going right through that defense as he picks up 29 yards in a first down.
Oh, it's just a really nice play. He's going to come across the formation, but then watch Bortles. He's able to get it right down the field. And so it's just a really good throw with great accuracy. We talk about him creating big plays, and he provides us one on cue.
Already the second catch for Hearns, as he is now well over 700 yards receiving on the season. First and 10, this is Yeldon. Just to get back to Hearns, it's still puzzling that this kid went undrafted after a pretty stellar career at Miami. And Greg Olsen said something interesting this week. He said he underestimated the impact that Hearns has on this team, not only with what he does in terms of production, but the leadership in that offensive room.
He's one of those guys that when he goes into the room, he understands what he's seeing with defenses. He understands what he's seeing with coverages, and he can help his offensive coordinator, I think, spread the message to the other guys. Here's what we're looking for on specific plays.
What drop from Bortles on 2nd and 9, and this 1-2 punch with their second-year wide receivers Robinson and Hearns has been giving opposing defenses fits.
Well, you know, they're in their second year, but they're playing above and beyond maybe what you would expect from two young receivers. And I think more importantly, they understand the game, and they can put up numbers with guys that we've talked about with Odell Beckham Jr. in last year's draft, Mike Evans in last year's draft. But Hearns and Robinson, they're right up there with those guys in terms of their overall production.
Ricardo Matthews coming across the line of scrimmage.
Encroachment, defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty, first down.
5 yards enough to move the chains for Jacksonville.
Bortles is working the hard count. You talk about a young quarterback already starting to do some things at a high level. He gets it. He knows his defense chomping at the bit to make a play. He was able to use the hard count to draw the penalty.
Green is shot.
Here's Bortles, play action on 1st and 10. Excellent protection in front of him. That pass is caught. It's Robinson. Taking tacklers on, moves inside the 35. Finally dragged down the turf by Teo. A pickup of 9, and that'll set up a favorable 2nd and short.
Yeah, we talked to Bortles. You know, he says this is the first time that since he's been here in Jacksonville, he's got a number of receivers to go to. We talk about Robinson, you see here on this play. You got Hearns, but then Brian Walters in the slot, he's begun to make plays. Marquise Lee is now healthy. Rashad Green had a 63-yard punt return on the Thursday night game to set up a winning touchdown. So they've got a lot of weapons on this offense.
And Green lined up in the slot on this 2nd and 1 play. They're going to take a chance, boy, right through the hands of Allen Robinson. Would have been a difficult catch with the kind of season he's been. And you expect him to come down with that catch.
Yeah, we talked to Bortles. He says, look, I'm not going to favor one guy. But then he mentioned Robinson. As you see here, he said, you know what? He's kind of earned the right to at least have me target him more times than not. And you can see why. He's got a really good pass-catching radius, and Blake thought he had that one. But you can see just for Robinson to put his body in the position where it could get to his hands, where he almost was able to haul it in.
And now Tyson Alu, their defensive tackle, lines up at the fullback position. Bortles fakes the handoff, rolls out. 3rd and 1. That pass is batted down and incomplete. Excellent defensive play up front by Kendall Reyes, the 4th-year man and former 2nd-round pick.
That was a great play by Reyes. Because watch him shadow Bortles. You know, Bortles is a former running back and linebacker. He gets out on the edge of your defense. For a big guy like Reyes at 300 pounds to get out in front and not allow Bortles to use his legs to create the first down and force him to throw it and still bat it down. That was a great play on 3rd down by Kendall Reyes.
Here's Myers. Told you about that 53-yarder that he hit in Baltimore 2 weeks ago. This one from 52 on target, and it is good. Good-looking kick from Myers, the Maris product, as Jacksonville extends its lead to 6. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. And by Zales. Declare your love with gifts from Zales, the Diamond Store.
Well, some of the great Jacksonville Jaguars through the years. Mark Brunell led the team to the postseason 4 straight years. Tony Boselli, 2016 Pro Football Hall of Fame semifinalist, the guy who's certainly expected to get in. What a career he had for this franchise. Javonte Harrington will take a knee, and here comes Phillip Rivers. Such a heavy burden, Solomon, that has been on his shoulders. MVP pace up until last weekend's game when he really struggled.
Yeah, and all those great numbers, you do have to ask yourself, can Phillip Rivers continue to carry this football team? I don't think that a quarterback alone in the National Football League today, and I know it's a quarterback-driven league, you can't ask a quarterback to go out and do it all by himself. They don't have a great running game where they rank 30th in the National Football League. The defense is struggling where they're giving up 28 points a game. That's 31st in the NFL. You need more complementary style of play to be able to win games, even when your quarterback is playing at a high level.
What can Rivers do here on 1st and 10? Little screen pass underneath to Melvin Gordon, and he's brought down by Telvin Smith. So much talk about how Gordon has struggled. Everyone expected there to be a learning curve, but with the injuries that they've had up front to the offensive line, it's made things a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, I believe in Melvin Gordon, by the way. I think he's an exceptional player. Watched him play at Wisconsin. I do believe you can tailor the offense a little bit more to him, to use him in a way that he's more familiar. But you're right, those injuries on the offensive line have hurt.
Here's Rivers on 2nd and 7, trying to go underneath. That was Donald Brown, the intended receiver, and Brown has been awfully quiet this season, the 7th-year man out of Connecticut. Speaking to the injuries that they've had up front, DJ Fluker out today with a concussion. You have to wonder about the rest of his season after a 2nd concussion in 5 games, and this has been the big story for them.
Yeah, 18 different rotations on that offensive line, 3rd most in the NFL, and I think that it kind of speaks to the indeficiencies on this offense and mainly the inconsistencies that you're seeing.
Rivers telling Woodhead to split out. Rivers, pocket collapses, penalty marker thrown behind the play as Rivers is able to run for the 1st down. He picks up 10, and now we wait the call from Jerome Boger.
Holding, offense, number 60, 10-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
That's Trevor Robinson, who has replaced Chris Watt as center. Watt, one of the guys lost for the year.
There's the center right there. There's Robinson. Right there. It almost like he tackles Jared Odrick right there. He was putting pressure on Phillip Rivers coming up the middle. Now they're pinned deep in their own territory. 3rd and forever. This is where if you're Phillip Rivers, just make sure you protect the football.
You saw the graphic that Solomon mentioned. 18 different offensive line combinations, 2nd most in the NFL. Tough 3rd and 17 after the penalty. Rivers has time over the middle, up the slot, completes. Well short of the 1st down. It's caught by Dontrell Inman. Chargers needed the 30. They pick up 14, and once again, Mike Cypher's on to punt.
But what did you see on that play? You saw that if the offensive line protects Phillip Rivers, he's going to stand in the pocket, and he's going to give the play a chance to work. He was able to drive that ball down the field to Inman, and they were very close to picking up the 1st down.
Good-looking punt from Cyphers, and Rashad Green signaling fair catch as Bortles and Jacksonville will have it from the 25 when we come back. Tonight, he was held by Cuba in prison for years, and he tells his story for the first time on 60 Minutes, plus the Daredevil, who are taking on the most dangerous mountains in the world, coming up tonight on CBS. High above Everbank Stadium, Spiro Ditas, Solomon Wilcots, rest of our CBS crew from Jacksonville here in week number 12. Quick strike is caught by Marquise Lee. And so far, Bortles, Solomon, spreading the wealth for the Jags.
Oh, he's doing a really good job of spreading the ball around. He's completed passes to 4 different receivers. That one to Marquise Lee was for the 5th. And then you saw that big pass play down the field to Robinson, then Hearns on a 26-yard gain. And so they're spreading the ball around. He's got 3 completions of 20 yards or more. And right now, Bortles playing at a high level and playing within himself, not trying to do too much.
Bortles already over 100 yards passing. Here's T.J. Yeldon. And so far that run defense has been very good, and that is the rookie Denzel Perryman, who has taken a lot of the snaps away from the vet in front of him, Donald Butler. He's played very well.
Hey, Perriman is a really good player. Second-round draft pick out of Miami. Look at that. He's like a heat-seeking missile. Just really good leverage, runs with great speed, and when he closes, he knows how to tackle and get his man on the ground.
Where does Bortles go here on 3rd and 8? Underneath. That's Hearns. Jaguars needed the 35 for the first down, so the Chargers defense able to get off the field. Nice play by Brandon Flowers, the ex-Chief.
And just maybe, the Chargers may be able to get some good field position, something they struggled with all season long, Spiro. I think when you can pitch the 3 and out, gives you a good chance to get a good return.
Here is Javonte Herndon, muffed that punt in a huge turning point in the game last week before Kansas City was able to kind of distance itself from the scoreboard. We'll see how he handles things here. This is Brian Anger. Herndon's going to play it from about his own 22. Herndon crosses the 35 and brought down around the 37-yard line. So better field position than Rivers and San Diego have had for the most part over the last 6 weeks. Well, in honor of Veterans Day, for every point scored during the NFL's 32 Salute to Service games, the league will donate $1,000 to its nonprofit partners, the Pat Tillman Foundation, USO, and Wounded Warrior Project. To join the salute and learn more, visit NFL.com/salute. That's a big deal in Jacksonville, a huge military community, as is San Diego, of course, as they honored a number of those veterans here prior to the opening kick. And this is what we were talking about, just an astounding number, 75 straight drives that have started inside their own 40-yard line. That goes back to week 4, consequently their last victory. Inside of a minute left in the quarter. On 1st and 10, Rivers to Johnson, atoning for that earlier drop. Sprints inside Jacksonville territory, 15 yards in the catch and run and a first down.
Yeah, every now and then you need what we call a drive starter. These little bubble screens and just flip it out to the receiver and let him catch and run and get the offense going. And now they're playing in plus territory. This is very unfamiliar for this offense, at least over the last few weeks.
Low snap. Rivers quickly able to snatch it and hand it off to Donald Brown, who picks up 3 yards with 29 seconds left in the quarter.
You know, we talk about, can Phillip Rivers continue to carry this team? We talk about the fact that they need to be more complementary, better field position. Defense can help with that by getting the 3 and out. The special teams, in terms of good punt return, they can help with that. There are a lot of different areas and ways to win football games.
And certainly one of their best punt returns of the season by Herndon a moment ago. And that officially was their longest return of the entire year. Rivers on 2nd and 7 again from the play action. From the shotgun, I should say. Fires and completes. That's Antonio Gates inside the Jacksonville 20. And the Chargers in business. 27 yards on the catch by Gates. That's the end of the first. Chargers down 6 on CBS. NFL fans, order your holiday gifts from NFLshop.com and save up to 20% off at the official store of the NFL, NFLshop.com. Everbank Field, just outside downtown Jacksonville. Spiro Dietasam and Wilcots. Antonio Gates with a huge catch to close out that first quarter. 27-yard reception, and that gives Phillip Rivers and the Chargers a 1st and 10 inside the Jacksonville 20. This is Melvin Gordon, finds the edge, just puts his foot in the turf, and he's inside the 10. What a run by Gordon, the rookie. The young man whom they traded up to take 15th overall in the draft, 11 yards and a first down.
Take a look at the speed, his ability to be elusive as he gets to the edge of the defense, and he wants badly to find that end zone. Look at him hitting that sideline, trying to get his first touchdown of his young career.
Well, you saw the move he put on Aaron Colvin The second-year corner has had a monster year. Here comes Gordon again, trying to find the edge. And he is tackled right around the collar from the back by Jonathan Cyprien, whom we had a chance to visit with on Friday. What a season he's had for Gus Bradley.
But how about Gordon also? And you're right, Cyprien, one of the best tackling safeties in this league. And Gordon, they're getting him the ball, I think, in ways where he can get to the edge of the defense and work out in space.
Chargers now picking up the pace. This is 2nd and goal. Fake the draw to Gordon. Rivers throwing end zone, incomplete. Intended for Inman. Nice coverage by Dwayne Grotz.
And on that play, only Phillip Rivers knew what he was doing. The receivers didn't know. they were all just standing there. They didn't run routes on the play. They all just kind of stood there and hoping, that they would understand what was going on. And that's where Phillip, he's going to run the show. He's got to make sure that his receivers understand what's going on every play.
Danny Woodhead lines up, top of your picture, and has a linebacker covering him on 3rd and goal. Rivers going end zone. It is caught. Inman for the Chargers touchdown.
Just a great play. Inman's working against Dwayne Grotz on this play. Phillip Rivers, he knew what he was doing that play, and this is going to be, you see it right there, and it's just good vision. Phillip Rivers knows that he's got the one-on-one matchup, and there it is right there. Inman separating from Grotz on the outcut, good timing on the throw, and excellent protection from the offensive line.
Inman, who struggled last week, made the start for the absent Malcolm Floyd. 2nd career touchdown catch. They both come this season for the San Diego Chargers. So San Diego's offense finally showing some life as they take their first lead. Scoring summary for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. They go 63 yards on 7 plays, and Rivers looking good on that drive. Rivers now in his last 4 games against Jacksonville, 8 touchdowns, Solomon, and not a single pick.
Oh, he just did a really good job, I think, of getting his team down the field. Look, they weren't able to run the ball really effectively, but he was very calm because he had great protection from the offensive line.
Denard Robinson once again unable to play the kick as the Jags will have it from the 20. Week 12 continues later today on CBS, and for some of you on Fox. Then tonight, Sunday Night Football on NBC. Monday Night Football coming up tomorrow on ESPN. It'll be the Ravens and the Browns. And the big news out of Cleveland, there's Johnny Manziel's anticipated start will not happen. There's some off-the-field transgressions as he just can't seem to get out of his own way in Cleveland.
Came in that same draft class 1 year ago with Blake Bortles.
Bortles, the 3rd overall pick. What a season he has had on 1st and 10. This is the tight end, Mercedes Lewis. Only his 11th catch of the season, and he picks up a 1st down and a lot more. 24 yards on a catch and run, and a nice play from Bortles.
Well, you got a lot of the block. Watch Luke Joker, number 75. He gets out in front, 76 I should say, and he's going to block for Lewis. Look at the block right there against Flowers. Flowers can't get around him, then he just goes for a ride and wait for help to come in the form of Kendall Reyes. Well-designed play.
Lewis, a former Pro Bowler in 2010. Among the all-time leading pass catchers in franchise history. 1st and 10. Bortles off the play action, incomplete, intended for Allen Hurns. And it was Jerry Atauchu who got a hand on the football and tipped that pass.
Atauchu, he played well last week. I thought he made some plays. And that play right there, that looked like it would have been completed. He was able to tip that ball at the line of scrimmage. I think defensive linemen have to understand today, quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball very quickly. Sometimes all you can do is get your hands up.
Bortles though here on 2nd and 10. Jaguars keep it on the ground with T.J. Yeldon. Until this point, Yeldon has had very little daylight to work. 6 carries till this point, only 13 yards.
We talk about the struggles of the Chargers running game. They only have 2 rushing touchdowns all season long. Jacksonville, they've struggled even more. They only have 1 rushing touchdown all season, the fewest in the National Football League. And we even talked to Gus Bradley, said, hey, what kind of game are we going to get when neither team can run it into the end zone? He felt it would come down to the play of his quarterback.
You know, the team's bottom 2 clubs in the NFL in that category, rushing touchdowns on the season. Bortles from the shotgun on 3rd and 9. Here come the Chargers. Both sides. Bortles escapes somehow. Rolls out. It's going to tuck it away and run it himself. He'll pick up the first down. Needed the San Diego 46. He runs for 10. And this is something we've seen Bortles do over the past couple of weeks.
This play was all Blake Bortles. He does a wonderful job of climbing the pocket. Look at the pressure coming off the top. But as he steps up, he's able to elude the pressure. And then he pump fakes Eric Weddle there. Gets him to turn down the field. And then he's able to pick up a first down. Weddle's got to stay committed. Kind of got caught in no man land. And then Blake Bortles was able to fool him a little bit with that pump fake.
55% of Bortles' carries this season have resulted in a first down. That's the most by a quarterback in the NFL. Bortles on 1st and 10, spins his way out of the pocket. Chargers giving chase, and Bortles out of the tackle box. Heady play to just kind of shovel it out of bounds. It was Melvin Ingram breathing down his neck.
Well, they had everyone covered down the field, and as much as Blake Bortles, and look, watch, Weddle's going to sneak out right there. And then just that ability to disguise the coverage, you'll see just about everyone. Stop it right there. Everyone's covered. You can't go anywhere with the ball because they're all locked up in man-to-man coverage. He's going to buy time, but look, still no one can detach. He just throws it away and live to fight another day.
Bernard Robinson is the long setback, and he'll take the carry on 2nd and 10. Robinson looked good last week. Had some daylight against that Tennessee defense, but not that time. It's Denzel Perryman, the rookie 2nd-round pick, leading the charge.
Yeah, this Chargers run defense have struggled in recent weeks, but not today. We're getting good penetration. Look, there's nowhere for Robinson to go. Can't make it to the corner, and then when he tries to cut it up, here's Denzel Perryman. I think he's improved their run defense over the last 2 weeks.
Puts the Jaguars in a tough spot here, 3rd and 10 from the San Diego 45. Bortles over the middle, it's caught. That's Julius Thomas, the tight end, but they pick up only 3, well short of that first down marker. Nifty defensive play by the safety, Jaleel Adai.
Yeah, we saw the Chargers secondary on that sequence of plays have good coverage down the field. Bortles is searching. He's buying time, doing all he can, but the coverage is holding up for San Diego.
Javonte Herndon back deep. Ryan Anger on the punt for the Jaguars. Stages 2nd quarter. A fair catch signaled by Herndon. Inside that San Diego 15-yard line. 27 yards on a perfectly placed punt by Anger.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jared the Galleria of Jewelry. The gift you'll treasure forever. Hyundai, an official sponsor of the NFL. And by Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com.
Earlier this week, the Jaguars and Derek Marks handed out Thanksgiving meals to families in need here in the Jacksonville area. Marks out for the season with the torn triceps that he hurt a couple of weeks ago in Baltimore, but remains very entrenched in this community through his Send Derek Marks Foundation. Gus Bradley and his team enjoyed the Thanksgiving break. His 12-year-old son Eli actually playing in a Pop Warner game on Friday, winning in the States. And they'll look ahead to their regional game next weekend. A nice moment for Gus and his family. On 1st and 10, Melvin Gordon. Impressive start for the rookie as they continue to climb. Phillip Rivers, a nice mixed bag in terms of him getting rid of the football.
He wants to get it out in 2.3 seconds. You can see that one had to hold it a little bit longer. But this is typically what you're going to get from this Chargers offense. Phillip Rivers under 2.3 seconds, even for the touchdown. That's his goal. These Jaguars know it. So they want to be able to constrict those passing lanes, play tighter coverage, and get their hands up at the line of scrimmage.
See Rivers' numbers to this point. 6 of his first 9. Rivers under pressure, and they get him around the ankles from the back. Roy Miller, 3rd sack of the season, and that is a new career high for the 7th-year man.
Take a look at Miller. He's going to do a really good job. Just, we talk about constricting even your rush lanes, because Rivers will climb the pocket. Not going to take off and run, but he will step up, toward the line of scrimmage. That's how he buys time. It shortens the throw, gives him greater vision down the field. Miller was able to take it away.
As a result, San Diego faced with a 3rd and 7. Woodhead lines out, split out, bottom of your screen. Rivers over the middle, low pass. Inman, did he make the catch? And the officials say no, incomplete.
And look at Rivers saying, are you kidding me? Rivers could not step up in the pocket on that play. He had pressure right around his legs by Andre Branch, forced a high throw, and looked like the ball touched the ground and maybe it moved. And you're going to see, watch the pressure here by number 90, Branch. It's right there, and that's where you can see he couldn't step up in the pocket. Wasn't able to put the zip on that football.
Inman had the short touchdown reception earlier to give San Diego this 1-point lead. This one is going to be played. San Diego giving chase. And Rashad Green, who had that long punt return in their last game against Tennessee to set up the go-ahead score, on another nice run back. 11 yards up the sideline, and now we await the penalty from Jerome Boger.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, kicking team number 25 for a late hit out of bounds. 15-yard penalty added to the dead ball spot. First down.
That is Jarrell Stuckey on the penalty. You saw Green well out of bounds.
Welcome back to Jacksonville. You can see Green's going to step out of bounds. And then Stuckey comes over, gives him a little bump, tries to hold him up, and then here comes the penalty flag. Now, this isn't your father's NFL. Safety comes first. And Mike McCoy said, are you kidding me? You're going to give him that play? It was not a real bump there, but they don't rule on the act. You know, they rule on the act, not the aftermath, I think.
First and 10 pass from Bortles. It is complete. Well, they were hoping that Julius Thomas would be spurred on, Solomon, by that touchdown catch against Tennessee, and so far it has 13 yards and a first down.
Yeah, and set up by the 15-yard penalty on Stuckey. And what I was trying to explain is, you know, they don't sit and say, okay, he didn't knock him over underneath the bench.
Right.
They just rule on the fact that they hit him while he was clearly out of bounds.
Certainly a new world in the NFL player safety. And a critical penalty giving Jacksonville excellent field position. This is Yeldon. Crosses the 15 and all the way down to the San Diego 13-yard line. 21 yards on the first down play by Yeldon, brought down by Perryman and Verrett.
Perryman's going to be busy. Look, they get some blocking here, and then they're able to get right off that right side of the offensive line. The block down, and then look at him bounce it outside. So it's just really good blocking by the offensive line. Jacksonville's starting to get some movement, and T.J. Yeldon's taking advantage of it.
Now this offensive line, as you see what Jacksonville has done, their struggles in the red zone, but this O-line has played very, very well. Certainly during this 4-week stretch as that catch made by Hearns. One thing we haven't mentioned, their best offensive lineman, Brandon Linder, was lost for the season back in week 3, and despite his absence, this offensive front has blocked very well.
And really, they have a quarterback who can move, who can buy a little bit of time, but they've had over 100 yards rushing in half of their games so far this year, and I think they've got to continue. They want a challenge for a division title in the AFC South. I think that's where they can make the biggest improvement is with the offensive line and in the running game.
Officials are going to whistle the play there. Looks like a timeout taken by San Diego.
Yeah, first. This is a 30-second timeout.
And defensive coordinator John Pagano saw something he did late, and they will burn their first timeout. This is an area where Blake Bortles has talked about Jacksonville needing to improve inside the red zone. We saw just 3 touchdowns over their last 12 trips.
He also talked about, those interceptions. He said, I can't throw interceptions in the fourth quarter, but I certainly can't throw interceptions down inside the red zone. He felt that's an area where he can improve his game, and if he does, it's going to go a long way in helping their offense to improve.
Boy, it feels different with this team. We've been here a number of times the last couple of years. Here are the Jaguars in Week 12, right in the thick of things. The NFC postseason chase. On 2nd and 6, Bortles going end zone for Robinson, too high. And incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 6. Manti Te'o there on the coverage for the Chargers.
It was a smart play. He knew that if I'm going to attempt this throw, and you can see at the second level they get their hands up forcing the high throw, but that's where you want to put it. If Robinson can't get it, you've got to throw it where no one can get it.
Bortles probing the defense on 3rd and 6. 4 wide receivers. Bortles has all day to throw. Will tuck it away, calls for a block. Throws at the last instant, end zone. Caught Robinson for the Jacksonville touchdown. There is a marker thrown. Was Bortles over the line of scrimmage? Flag thrown right at the spot where he released the football.
Yeah, it's going to be right at the 7-yard line.
Illegal forward pass. Offense, number 5. 5-yard penalty. Loss of down. 4th down.
And you can see the ball is at about the 7-yard line. Now he's got to be fully past everything. His body and the ball past the 7-yard line when he throws the ball. See right there, he's at the 5-yard line. So he was clearly past the line of scrimmage when he attempted that throw. Got to make better decisions down inside the red zone, and that was a poor decision by Blake Bortles.
You know, we saw that call loom large in the Ravens game last week, a play that they challenged. But Zaman pointed out not only the entire football, but the entire body needing to be over the line of scrimmage in order for the penalty to be called. It was by a wide margin on that play. And so Jason Myers on for the extra point, hit from 51 and 22, and here he's good from 27 yards out. Jacksonville moves back in front on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly. And by Garmin Fitness. Let's beat yesterday.
Jaguars back in front of the Chargers here 9-7. Wednesday on CBS, a heartbreaking event will shake these doctors to their core. Don't miss a new Code Black Wednesday 10-9 Central, only CBS. Field goal by Jason Myers. I said extra point. Field goal, of course, 27 yards out to give the Jaguars a 2-point lead as Jacksonville begins the day just a game out. First place in the AFC South. 4-6 on the season, and they are keeping close tabs on both the Texans, who are home today for the Saints, and also Indianapolis. Both of those teams right now in front as they play in the second quarter of their respective games. This is Herndon. Crosses the 15, but not much after that. A return of 13 yards. That's Nick Zubnar getting into it for San Diego. How about what we've seen so far from these red zone offenses till this point?
Yeah, it is about red zone execution, something the Jaguars have struggled with today. 0 for 2 down inside the red zone, while the San Diego Chargers, Phillip Rivers, they were able to connect on that red zone possession. But you can see the penalty right there against Blake Bortles negates that touchdown. So they finish 0 for 2 in the red zone, while Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers are batting 1,000, 1 for 1 so far.
Chargers have lost 6 straight games, longest losing streak in 4 years. Rivers slinging it, intended for Malcolm Floyd. First time he's looked in his direction today. We go to New York in an update with James Brown.
Playoff implications, Kansas City finally on the board.
JB, the Chiefs respond. Spencer Ware is going to take it in for the 3-yard carry. The big play in this drive, Jeremy Maclin with an iffy 37-yard catch. Buffalo leads 10-7.
Spiro and Solomon.
That kid Spencer Ware out of nowhere last week. Chargers getting introduced to him for the first time as he makes the start today in place of Charkandrick West. This is Gordon, who's looked very impressive in this first half. A little bubble screen to the running back. They pick up 6. Tackled by Cyprian and Puzlesny. It'll be 3rd down coming up.
They're going to need more sure tackling against Melvin Gordon. You know, he's 6'1", 215, so he can be a load. He was able to shed a couple of defenders there, and if they didn't have great pursuit, he might have made himself a very big play there on the catch and run.
Withers on 3rd and 4. Fires and completes over the middle of the field. That's Inman, who had the touchdown catch earlier. Tackled at the 40, 17 yards and a San Diego first down.
It all starts with the protection. We said a flawless Phillip Rivers is really about having good protection. Look, able to step up in the pocket, able to look down the field, and there he finds Inman working outside against McCray.
Dontrell Inman entered this game with just 15 catches on the season. He has been a focal point of this offense till this point. That is Melvin Gordon, tackled by Jonathan Cyprien. And Osama, we talked this week about how much of a different offense this is for Gordon compared to what he ran at Wisconsin. They basically never asked him to be a pass catcher out of the backfield. It's one of the reasons why this learning curve has been so steep.
And didn't have to do a lot of pass protection either. And that's, you're right, I think he's having to adjust to it. And I think if they can give him the ball more in space, he certainly would be more productive within this offense.
Withers on 2nd and 7, under pressure, completes over the middle. That's Stevie Johnson inside Jacksonville territory. Johnson still on his feet. Inside the 40. They bring him down from the back, 19 yards. Rivers facing the pressure right in front of him, stands in the pocket and delivers a strike to Johnson.
Yeah, if Jacksonville's going to have any luck in this game, they've got to do more of that. They've got to be able to get Phillip Rivers on the ground. That time it was Tyson Alualu. He was able to get some penetration, but not before Rivers got rid of it under 2.3 seconds in the hands of his receiver, Stevie Johnson.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 11, 15-yard penalty, still a first down.
And you saw Phillip Rivers say something to Johnson about that penalty, and Johnson was not very happy about it.
Well, that bothered him because Evans kind of had his ankle, and he's going to go over to Josh Evans, and there's the conversation. The officials heard something said. Okay. That warranted the penalty, and then Phillip Rivers had something to say to Stevie Johnson.
So that will negate a 19-yard play. It does remain first down. So that one hurts. And you'll recall Stevie Johnson back in week 9 had a taunting penalty that was very costly after a critical first down catch just as the Chargers were driving in that game. It's one thing you get with Stevie Johnson, all kinds of talent, but he's been a volatile player over his 8 years in the NFL. Play clock just to the 1. There he is over the middle. It's Dontrell Inman inside the 35 down to the 30. They get that yardage back, 23 yards and a first down, tackle by Aaron Colvin.
In this defense, they force everything and funnel it to the middle of the field, and Phillip Rivers is taking advantage of it. Quick in-breaking route by Inman. Get rid of the ball under 2.3 seconds, you'll find an open receiver.
Chargers first and 10. Rivers hit right on the release. That will be ruled an incompletion. And now it looks like Rivers is hobbled. It was Chris Smith getting to Rivers. And this is the last thing that Mike McCoy wants to see.
At the bottom of the screen right there, here's Smith. Look at that. There's the hit on Rivers. They understand if you're going to get home, you got to get there quick. He was able to hit the right arm of Phillip Rivers, forcing that ball out. It's an incompleted pass, even though the Jaguars defenders are pouncing on it as if it were a fumble.
8th play of the drive. This is 2nd and 10. Danny Woodhead inside the 25, lunges ahead to the 23. Amazingly, Woodhead last week in that loss to Kansas City, Salmon had just 8 touches in that game. As they try to make him more of a focal point here, they'll face a 3rd and 4.
Yeah, what did Mike McCoy tell us about Danny Woodhead? Said, just love his mentality. Wish all the players had the same mentality as a guy who's very small but still can make big plays in the offense. Phillip Rivers, look at career passing mark, over 40,000 passing yards for his career.
He becomes the 17th player to eclipse that number as his illustrious career continues. Pre-snap movement. And that play whistle dead. Rivers didn't appreciate the contact as he now starts jawing with that Jacksonville defense. Ryan Davis
Offside.
drawing his ire.
Defense, number 91. 5-yard penalty, resulting in a first down.
That's the second such penalty against Chris Clemens in his first half.
Clemens wasn't even watching the ball. Didn't have his vision inside. Look, his head is outside. Now, here's the deal. You got to come and you got to grab the quarterback, but you don't have to manhandle him. You don't want to give Rivers a free play on it, even though they did blow the whistle, rendering the play dead.
That gives San Diego 1st and 10 inside the 20. Chargers trying to retake the lead with under 3 minutes left before halftime. Jaguars coming. Rivers slings an end zone. Incomplete. Intended for Stevie Johnson. Aaron Colvin there. Colvin fast becoming one of the top corners in the NFL.
Yeah, second-year player. He's one of the players that stand out. You put the tape on. Look at that tight coverage. He's able to knife in underneath with that left hand to get the ball out. But you're really impressed with Aaron Colvin. Leads the team in sacks. He makes plays like that on the back end. He's an excellent tackler. You can see 51 tackles, 4 sacks, most by any defensive back in the National Football League this season.
On 2nd and 10, Rivers over the middle. That's caught. Stevie Johnson, who has been very active for them in his first half. 3rd catch for Johnson. That time for 6. It'll be 3rd down.
And this is where maybe Jacksonville's defense, their red zone defense, 31st in the NFL. They need to get some stops on here on 3rd and 4. But Rivers right now executing at a high level. He's getting rid of the ball quickly, and I think he's doing a good job of reading the defense pre-snap and knowing where to go with the football.
3rd and 4, 11th play of the drive that began at their own 17. Rivers, Woodhead, first down catch inside the 10. Clock stopped at 2:05, and it looks like Rivers still kind of feeling a twinge after the hit he took just a couple of moments ago from Ryan Davis. And now the clock will run down to the 2-minute warning. They'll take a look at Rivers during the break. 2-point lead for Jacksonville on CBS. Chargers set up with a 1st and goal, down 2. Solomon, what does their offensive coordinator Frank Wright dial up here?
I think they like that pass combination between Danny Woodhead and Antonio Gates, opposite of the trips formation. Right now, Woodhead is in the game, but he's deep in the backfield.
Danny Woodhead's 2nd most receptions among NFL running backs. Entering this one today. He'll hand it to him on 1st and goal, and he is going nowhere. Now Jacksonville defensive front right there. Chargers with 2 timeouts left. Looks like Joe Barksdale a little bit slow to get to his feet. We saw him go down last week in that Kansas City game with a hip injury. Obviously not considered serious as he was a starter today. And he'll try to run it and walk it off here. So timeout is taken with $1:54 to play before halftime. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report from New York. JB Toney, Bart Boomer, and Coach Cower with all the latest NFL scores and highlights. We'll also get you a preview of Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network. The Verizon halftime report comes your way next. Well, we told you what's at stake for Jacksonville. 1 game out of first in the AFC South. Texans right now are winning at home over the Saints. And Indianapolis down 6 at home to Tampa Bay. That's good news for Jacksonville. Rivers, 2nd and goal, slings it, end zone, caught, touchdown, Antonio Gates. And San Diego back in front.
This is the formation that we were talking about. You get Danny Woodhead and Gates over to the same side, and you'd see Woodhead over here, Gates over the middle of the field. And this is how they were able to convert the third down play on the same kind of route. They went right back to it. They get Gates inside that corner, Devon House, and that's an easy touchdown. This is the best route combination between these two players, Gates and Woodhead, that they have working in this offense.
Toughest season in the career of Antonio Gates, the future Hall of Famer, still hobbled by that knee injury. The 102nd career touchdown for Gates. Phillip Rivers continues to climb these statistical rankings as he moves right alongside Joe Montana. Solomon, pretty good company. Touchdown pass number 273.
Yeah, we talk about him being an elite quarterback, over 150 consecutive starts in his career, then just keep climbing the charts. He keeps showing up for work every single week. He's had the good fortune to stay healthy, but he makes a lot of good decisions on the football field. We talk about him dialing it up in the red zone. You just saw it on that play there. Phillip Rivers, one of the best quarterbacks in our league.
Fittingly, it is caught by Gates. Robinson unable to play the kickoff again, as Bortles will have it from the 20. Saw Rivers get banged around on that last drive, hanging tough, making some tough throws.
Yeah. Hey, you know, you don't get to set all those records without having to endure some of this. Getting hit, getting knocked down, having to get back up and come back and make plays. One tough hombre, he's a big guy. And look at him, he's going to tell you about it as well.
There is no quarterback who barks more than Phillip Rivers during these games. As he's got a lot of frustration to let out in what has been such a trying season for San Diego in the midst of the 6-game losing streak. That's Julius Thomas over the middle. Thomas with 8 yards to set up a 2nd and short. That's the strategy here for Jacksonville.
Yeah, you got to go hurry up right now. You've got to be able to get everyone lined up, get the ball snapped, get the ball out of your hands.
You have 2 timeouts left. That's Rashad Green, a rookie out of Florida State. They pick up 8 and a first down.
And you can see guys are going right back to the line of scrimmage, and he's barking out the calls. Now he's got to make a play.
Here's Bortles, going off his back foot, completes. That's Robinson, penalty marker thrown. Robinson inside San Diego territory. It's a 16-yard catch. And a first down if it stands.
Holding, offense, number 76. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
That's Luke Jokel, the former 2nd overall pick back in 2013.
Penalties can derail your offense in this 2-minute situation. Right now, you know, you've got the weapons. We talked about the players, the talented players on this offense around Blake Bortles. Just got to give Robinson, Hearns an opportunity to make a play.
So 1st and 20 after the marker. That pass is deflected and intercepted. Manti Te'o. Massive play for this Chargers defense. He runs it back 11 yards, and he is mobbed by his teammates.
I think it's just a really good play. He's going to read the eyes of Blake Bortles. And what he's going to get is there's going to be the curl route right there. And look, he's going to see it here, but Manti Te'o, he's able to get right underneath it. Just good vision. Look at him read the eyes of the quarterback. Step right into the passing lane and able to haul it in. Just great anticipation. Those are the instincts you saw from Manti Te'o in college. And now as he's able to stay healthy and stay on the field, beginning to make those plays in San Diego.
Saw the interceptions thrown by Bortles on the season. First pick of the year for Te'o. And the Chargers defense has just not been able to make the big play all season. Gets one there from their stud linebacker. Rivers on 1st and 10. Far side is caught by Woodhead. Runs out of bounds, and that stops the clock with 57 seconds left. Gives him a first down. Again, the Verizon halftime report coming up next. Our crew standing by in New York to get you a preview of Thursday Night Football. Coming up next on the Verizon halftime report.
Phillip Rivers is looking for points here. Great opportunity to turn that turnover into another touchdown here in the first half.
Beg your pardon, it's a 2nd and 5. After the 5-yard catch by Woodhead. Rivers, quick strike over the middle. That's Woodhead again. And by the way, this is the first offensive possession for San Diego that started out past their 40-yard line, Solomon, since October the 4th the last time they won a game.
Yeah, and this defense is now starting to get some takeaways, starting to force some turnovers. Came into today's game with only 9 takeaways, ranked nearing the bottom of the league. But when Manti Te'o can get that kind of interception and put his offense in this kind of field position, that's how you score points, and that's how you ultimately go on the road and are able to win games.
Bortles can only helplessly look on here. 13th interception that he has thrown. And the 7th straight game that he's thrown a pick. Longest active streak in the NFL. Short field for Rivers. 1st and 10 for the Jacksonville 12. Rivers steps up, puts an air under it, throws end zone, it's caught! It's Gates again for the touchdown! 12 yards on a pass from Rivers. And the San Diego Chargers suddenly in front by 11.
And it's Cyprien. He's trying to cover Antonio Gates in the slot, man-to-man. It's a good read by Phillip Rivers because he knows he's got single high coverage. But look, watch this route. It's wide open over there. Throwing it over the top of Cyprien and away from the safety. And you can see just a really good throw and a great read of the defense by Phillip Rivers.
Antonio Gates playing on that injured knee that he hurt about a month ago. Haven't seen him resemble his Hall of Fame form much this season. But suddenly 2 consecutive touchdown catches on back-to-back possessions. This is what Rivers usually does, by the way. He'll run into the locker room a little bit early. So nothing to be concerned about for the Chargers as you go back to the pick by Te'o.
Yeah, it's a really good play. You get the ball that close to the end zone with a minute left to play and a half. Phillip Rivers took advantage of what time was left. He's finding his favorite target, Antonio Gates, for the touchdown. This Jaguars defense, they've allowed a lot of plays to the tight end. Even coming into the game, they had allowed over 300 receiving yards to tight ends over the last 4 games. Mike McCoy knows it, dials up his tight end to get the touchdown before the end of the first half. Excellent play design, really good call, and you got to go to your best players at critical moments. Phillip Rivers to Antonio Gates.
No surprise that the 2 old war horses are the guys that are trying to bring them back from the abyss as they look to end this 6-game losing streak. 3rd touchdown pass thrown by Rivers, and with that he moves in front of Joe Montana, career touchdown strike number 274 in his incredible 12-year career. .45 seconds left, and now you can see where Rivers currently finds himself. May pass Vinny Testaverde before the day is out.
Yeah, trying to catch Eli. It seems like he's chasing Eli in just about everything, right? Same draft class in 2004. The Chargers drafted Eli Manning, traded him to the New York Giants, and got themselves Phillip Rivers as the prize.
That was the case the last time San Diego was 2-8 or worse in a season. Something that their fans don't want to think about at this point as Bortles runs for 8. Jacksonville running out of time with 2 timeouts left. No timeout taken, and a free blitzer going right at Bortles. It's Jimmy Wilson, the 5th-year safety.
Wilson came from another area code. Blake Bortles never saw him coming because he came late. Bortles held on to the ball and was able to get the sack, and now they're just going to let the clock run out, take it in at halftime.
First sack of the season by Wilson, and you hear the boos from these Jacksonville fans wanting Gus Bradley perhaps to take a timeout, maybe just take one chance down the field. So the San Diego Chargers with 14 unanswered points, and they will have the football to begin the second half. We'll be back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, we continue our countdown to Super Bowl 50 here on CBS, taking a stroll down memory lane. It was Super Bowl 39 right here in Jacksonville, the Eagles and New England. Terrell Owens, 122 yards, but not enough as the Patriots and their MVP, Deion Branch, edging past Philly for that 3-point win and a Super Bowl championship. Halftime score here in Jacksonville, 21-9. Philip Rivers tying his career high in the first half with 3 touchdown passes. And we take a look now at who you're loving, presented by McDonald's Game Time Gold. Rivers to Antonio Gates, most prolific quarterback tight end tandem in NFL history. And look at the reaction by Philip Rivers. Gates, by the way, had 2 touchdown catches all season over the first 10 games. He's got 2 in the first half. All the pressure on Jacksonville as they fight for that AFC South division lead a game back, but haven't looked good offensively. What about second half adjustments for both teams?
I think if you're San Diego, you got to continue to play with what we call a complementary style of play. Yeah, you got Philip Rivers going, but the offense needs a running game. They've had some semblance of that. More importantly, they played well on special teams and on defense, getting the late interception at the end of the first half. And then you're Jacksonville. You just got to do a better job of executing on your red zone possession. The Jaguars were 0 for 2 down inside the red zone in the first half. Meanwhile, the San Diego Chargers going 3 for 3 down there. Philip Rivers red hot. 3 touchdown passes in the first half.
Well, what about the quarterback comparison? Through 2 quarters, Rivers banged around on a couple of those possessions in the first half. It always seems to find an answer as he fights his way through and gets the Chargers with those back-to-back touchdowns to close the quarter. And now Rivers and company will have the football to start this third quarter. And here is the comparison we were just talking about.
Yeah, and I think better protection for Philip Rivers yield great results. More importantly, if you're Blake Bortles, you can't have the turnovers. You cannot put Philip Rivers on a short field because he's going to dial it up and eat your defensive line. Now, here in the second half, Bortles got to be even more careful with the football, where he's been prone to throw those interceptions in the fourth quarter of football games.
Melvin Gordon, just 21 yards on 5 first rushes. Here he is as a pass catcher, breaks the initial tackle coming from Josh Evans, the safety. And that's what we've seen Gordon do consistently so far in this game, making the initial guy miss.
Well, you can see just how explosive he is and how quick he is in space. I think the more opportunities he has the ball out in space, and just a really good tackle right there by Josh Evans. But if you get him the ball in space, sooner or later he's going to stress out the defense. He's going to make 1 or 2 guys miss, and it's off to the races.
There's Rivers on 2nd and 8. Has time. Good protection in front of him. Nowhere to throw the football, however. Rivers not the most mobile of quarterbacks. Kind of stumbles his way forward. And that'll set up a 3rd down coming up.
But what patience and what pocket presence for a guy who can't move that well. He's just got a good feel and sense of how the pocket is closing in around him. He's still got his vision up the field. And he may not be able to take off a run for it, but he has enough ability to be able to save himself from taking those real tough hits.
Play clock down to 1. Rivers on 3rd and 7. Swings it, finds Gates. Has the first down. Marker thrown towards the far side of the field. On the San Diego sideline, tackle on the play by Telvin Smith and Aaron Colvin.
Yeah, but they're going to get a penalty on Stevie Johnson. It looked like he threw a pick on Telvin Smith, who was in coverage against Antonio Gates.
Pass interference, offense, number 11, 10-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
Just got to be a better actor, okay? See, there he is right there. Now watch the collision with number 50 right there, and that's what allows Antonio Gates to come so wide open. How about Telvin Smith? He gets over there to make the tackle.
What a season Telvin Smith has had, the second-year linebacker out of Florida State. 2nd in the NFL, entering today with 97 tackles, trailing only Indianapolis linebacker D'Qua Jackson. So much tougher scenario after the penalty. 2nd penalty called today, by the way, and Stevie Johnson. intercept. It's Jared Odrick getting there for Jacksonville.
They're going to need to do more of this here in the second half. Get pressure with a four-man rush on Phillip Rivers. There's Odrick right there, knifing in, and that's what you have, a four-man rush. Odrick was able to beat the double team, able to beat Trevor Robinson as well as Franklin, the left guard, come away with the sack. Great play by Odrick. And there's that Pee Wee Herman move that he does frequently.
Odrick coming over in free agency from Miami. Slow start for him, just one sack over the first 7 games. That was his third over the last 4. Look at Rashad Green weaving his way up the field. Inside Chargers territory. 16 yards on the return and a short field for Bortles when we come back. Saturday, the best game from the best conference is the biggest of the year. It's the Florida Gators and the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC Championship game on CBS. It all begins with CBS College Football Championship Saturday, college football today. TJ Yeldon will be keeping close tabs on that game. All the success he had at Alabama. First offensive possession for Jacksonville, and Yeldon is buried as Denzel Perryman leading the charge. He has had a good game until this point. Perryman, son of a coach, grew up in Miami. Said his dad used to set up tackling drills in the living room when he was 6 years old. And what a future this kid has in front of him.
He's got a nose for the football. He's got a nose for the ball carrier. He can sift his way through traffic. He just has a knack for being able to find the ball carrier and get him on the ground. He's helped to improve this run defense that really has been struggling all season.
His father, Desmond, actually a current commissioner in the Pop Warner League in Coral Gables in South Florida. That pass from Bortles incomplete, intended for Allen Hurns. And so the best field position to start a drive Jacksonville has had, but so far this Chargers defense up to the task.
Yeah, you talk about this Chargers run defense and how bad it's been. They've given up 13 runs of 20 yards or more than most in the NFL. And they've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns, second most. So right now they're doing a much better job of containing the run game of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mike 37. Mike 37, Green 80. Green is up.
Chargers coming on the blitz. Jaguars able to pick up. That pass is caught. Thomas first down, catch and run. Inside the 15, brought down right at the 10-yard line. As Julius Thomas continues to get comfortable. 35 yards and a first down.
Right here, Jaleel Adai, it's just, he hits him in stride here. He sees it right away. And look at the speed of Thomas. He's able to pull away from the safety Adai, able to create catch and run, making a nice play for his quarterback, Blake Bortles.
5th catch of the day for Thomas, 62 yards. That one goes for 34 officially. 1st and 10 from the 11. Bortles throwing in zone, incomplete. Unable to locate Mercedes Lewis, who has had a quiet season till this point. Only 10 catches entering this game today. And again, the struggles for Jacksonville in the red zone of late and today.
Well, we said they have to do a better job of executing down inside the red zone. I do believe the mobility of the quarterback, Blake Bortles, can help you down here. I'm sure Greg Oates will say, hey, you have to be aware of where the line of scrimmage is. Remember, he was penalized in the first half when he threw a touchdown, but he had already crossed the line of scrimmage.
Bortles on 2nd and 10. First time we called Brian Walters' name today. Catch and run, they get him down to the 6. Greg Olson, a lot of experience, knows John Pagano's defense very well, was the Raiders offensive coordinator the last 2 years. We'll see what play he dials up here in a critical 3rd and 5 coming up with Jacksonville down 21-9.
Well, this is where you think players that did not play. Robinson, he's 6'3", 210, got a great pass catching radius, and Mercedes Lewis is 6'6", 270. Something tells me he ought to be able to go up and haul it in for him.
Allen Robinson lined up at the top of the screen. What a matchup there against Jason Verrett. 3rd and 6. Bortles flushed out of the pocket, surveys the defense. Gonna shovel it into the end zone, intended for Julius Thomas, and it falls incomplete. And was Bortles over the line of scrimmage, or perhaps some contact at the end of the play?
There's a flag down.
Illegal forward pass. Offense, number 5. 5-yard penalty. Loss of down. 4th down.
Now let's take a look. Yeah, he was past the line of scrimmage. There you see the ball snap right around that 7 or 8 yard line. But watch right down here. You're going to see right here, that's where you've got to be able to get that ball into Julius Thomas. He goes out of bounds, but you can see Bortles was past the 7-yard line. He was past the line of scrimmage again. He made another critical mistake.
Second such penalty against Bortles in this game. And so their drive stalls that began in San Diego territory. And Jason Myers now 4 for 4 on field goals as he converts from 28 yards out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The awarded rewarding Jeep Grand Cherokee. And by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com.
Aerial coverage of today's game being provided by MetLife. Beautiful sunshine here in Jacksonville. Downtown part of the city. A short drive from where we are here inside Everbank Field. 28-yard field goal from Jason Myers. He's 4 for 4 on the afternoon. But so they continue to struggle in the red zone. 3 times inside San Diego's 20. They've come away with only 3 field goals. Well, let's reset the table for you in terms of where the Jaguars sit in the playoff picture in the AFC South. This is their likely way in. Started the day a game back of both Indy and Houston. Texans right now are winning. Colts are losing at home. Saw them into Tampa Bay.
3-team race, right? I mean, we've seen it before where teams will get in with an 8-8 record. We've seen the Seattle Seahawks get in with a less than 500 record, and I think the Carolina Panthers did it 1 year ago where they were 7-8-1, won the division title, and even won a game in the postseason.
Well, they do face the Colts in Week 14 a couple of weeks from today, and they'll take on Houston on the road to end the regular season in Week 17. Here's Rivers and company back on the field on 1st and 10. A wobbly pass falls incomplete, intended for Inman, who has been Rivers' favorite target in this game. Inman 4 catches for 56 yards and the short touchdown.
Chargers very lucky this ball wasn't intercepted. Good defenses, you always intercept what we call tips and overthrows. This ball is going to be tipped. You can see he's going to drop this one, but it sort of ricochets up in the air. Can't believe not one defender was close to intercepting that ball.
Here's Dwayne Gratz on the coverage.
Go Chocolate Tiger! Chocolate Tiger!
Melvin Gordon gets the play call from Rivers, flanks his quarterback on 2nd and 10. Jaguars coming. Rivers on a little screen underneath to Gordon, who's buried behind the line of scrimmage by Paul Puzlesny. They lose 6.
Puz does a really good job of diagnosing the play. Look, he's going to read here. That's going to be his coverage. Look, he's just going to follow Melvin Gordon there. See, he hugs the play immediately. That's how he's able to beat the offensive lineman who's coming out to block him. But what you got to do is you got to read it, then hug up to your coverage immediately, and the blocker will never get to you.
Puzlesny, 9th year in the NFL, among the elite linebackers of his generation. A Pro Bowler for Jacksonville back in 2013. See what San Diego has done on 3rd down. It's 3rd and 17. Woodhead crosses the 20. Well short by about 8 yards of the 1st down. Tackled by Gratz. Puzlesny there as well. And the Chargers will punt.
And what you learned from that possession, if you're Jacksonville, you got to win on the early downs against Phillip Rivers on 1st down. And then on 2nd down, force him into 3rd and long. You stand a much better chance of getting him off the field and forcing them to punt the football.
There's Cyphers. Jaguars getting a nice push. And now Rashad Green from just inside his own 30. Green covering a lot of real estate. It will be a minimal return as they will start it from just around their own 33 when we come back. Next Thursday, it's a rivalry matchup between the Packers and the Lions on CBS and NFL Network. Packers looking to avenge their home loss to Detroit from a couple of weeks back. And then in 2 weeks, Vikings-Cardinals only on NFL Network. Playoff race is heating up. Both conferences. We'll look at what this Jacksonville offense has done so far this afternoon. Right now, 9. Bortles pass on first down incomplete, intended for Allen Robinson, and now both of these offenses suddenly having some issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And that time I thought the protection was good for Bortles. If you take a look at Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bortles was anticipating the back shoulder throw. You could tell the timing just wasn't there between he and his intended receiver.
Bortles, if you've just joined us, 1 interception thrown in this game. He's 18 of 29 for 217 till this point. Hasn't had much in the way of support from his run game. Solomon, T.J. Yeldon just 36 yards on 9 carries, that time tackled by Kyle Emanuel.
And most of those rush yards for Yeldon came early in the game. You're right. Here now in the second half, the run game for the Jaguars have become very stagnant.
Bortles on 3rd and 9. Pick up the blitz, fires the pass, and it's incomplete. Like Eric Weddle is shaken up on the play, loses his helmet. Julius Thomas, the intended receiver. Weddle playing with that injured groin that he tweaked in the game against the Chiefs last Sunday, as gritty as any player in the NFL.
Like Bortles was able to squeeze that ball in there, and Thomas just couldn't haul it in. That ball hit Thomas right in the hands, but look, oh
boy.
You can see he stepped right on the face of Eric Weddle. That's taking one on the chin.
Literally.
Got a pretty good beard, though. I guess if anyone could survive it, it would be him.
Well, that is a dangerous play. You saw the cleat hit him right in the bottom of the chin. Ear pad flying out of the helmet. Vicious looking collision between he and Thomas. Here comes Herndon. Finds the edge up the sideline. And once again, Phillip Rivers and their offense will have decent field position as they try to get that helmet fixed for Weddle.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Walmart has everything you need to share wonder every day. And by Verizon. Watch live primetime games with NFL Mobile, only on Verizon.
Well, Jacksonville's 6 playoff appearances since becoming an expansion team in 1995. Last postseason appearance, 2007, and they are right in the thick of things in the AFC. One game out of first place in the AFC South behind Indianapolis and Houston. Texans right now up big at home against the Saints, and at last check, Tampa Bay in front of the Colts in Indianapolis. Melvin Gordon has shown a couple of signs of good burst and eluding tacklers, but statistically in terms of his run game today, just 22 yards.
Yeah, I think he learned right there at the NFL level. You saw Dwayne Gratt's excellent tackle on the perimeter. Sooner or later, you got to stick that foot in the ground and press the line of scrimmage. Speed is only going to take you so far when you run toward the sidelines.
Rivers on 2nd and 9. Goes underneath. This is Gates. 2 touchdown catches in the first half. That time picks up 5. As he's brought down at the 40, about 4 yards short of the first down marker.
Look at Antonio Gates had that little high step move like he was going to try to put a fake move on the defender. He knows that he doesn't have that fake move anymore. All he could do is lower his shoulder and try to run someone over.
He admitted that he has not been himself since that MCL sprain. First time he's had that kind of an injury. Missed the game week 7. That's the best that we've seen him look since the injury. On 3rd and 4. Rivers probes the defense, going to try to run for it, and he's got it.
How about that? Phillip Rivers. This guy is still making plays. We didn't think he could run it. We talked about this earlier. Not that mobile, but, you know, he climbs the pocket, press the line of scrimmage. Every now and then you'll break out, and he can convert a 3rd, 4 now. He's like, look, he's talking to the guy. I can run 4 yards and get myself a first down.
Rivers tying his career high in the first half earlier today with 3 touchdown passes. Didn't get there very fast, but he got there to set up a 1st and 10. That's Donald Brown giving Melvin Gordon a breather. Well, he had to be pleased getting Malcolm Floyd back today. Such a crushing blow to lose Keenan Allen, who was having a career season. Antonio Gates finally starting to look like his old self. Some of his old targets getting back.
Absolutely, and Stevie Johnson's played better today, and Dontrell Inman is beginning to make some plays as well, but can't say enough about Woodhead and Gates. That combination being able to get this offense going in the passing game.
Hey, okay, go Lucy Bubble.
Rivers on 2nd and 9, throws near side. It is caught. That's Inman again, right at the 1st down marker at the Jacksonville 45. No signal yet from the officials.
It looks like a catch because they're moving the chains. He's going to sit down right in front of Demetrius McCray, and right in front of the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley was none too happy. He's coaching right there on the sideline, telling McCray how he's got to defend that better.
1st down on the catch by Inman.
Okay, Delta!
From the Jacksonville 45. Here's Brown again. Did not have a single carry last week in that big loss against the Chiefs. That time he's buried by Posluszny for a loss of 2.
Smart players make smart plays. All Posluszny, he was just clamping down and squeezing down. They love to be able to sneak a 7th and 8th defender in the box. That's why they're so good at defending the run. You saw it on that play. And Buzz can diagnose plays and get to the line of scrimmage and make tackles as good as any linebacker in the league.
One of the elite run stoppers in the NFL over the last decade. On 2nd and 12, Rivers going to take a shot. Near side of the field trying to find Floyd, who's been quiet till this point. In fact, Floyd does not have a catch in his return from that torn labrum. There was concern with him announcing that he'll retire at the end of the season, that shoulder injury could perhaps end his career. But here he is back.
Yeah, House did a really good job just staying on top of Floyd. And Floyd's got that wingspan also at 6'5", 225. But if you can stay on top of him, force the jump ball, as House showed you, you can win on that play. Now on 3rd and 12, they got to be able to get a pass rush on the Rivers with 4 men, with a 4-man rush. They also have been rushing 3 and dropping 8 into coverage.
Looks like Jacksonville burns a timeout as Gus Bradley trying to make a change to his defensive alignment. We're 3:35 to play, and that could loom large in a potentially close game. Need those 3 timeouts.
Yeah, well, they need a stop here. They can't let Phillip Rivers get deep into Jacksonville territory, because I don't think they can afford to give up many more points the way that their offense is struggling.
San Diego 6 straight losses after starting the year 2-2. Gus Bradley's Jaguars in the midst of winning consecutive games for the first time this season, and 3 of their last 4. Needing a big defensive stop here on 3rd and 12.
3-man rush. It looks like they're going to drop 8 into coverage and force Rivers to cram it into a small window.
Rivers completes. Stevie Johnson with a 1st down catch. And Johnson was wide open as they pick up 25.
Yeah, they didn't force him to throw it into a small one. This is a big window. Look, he'll just run a 7 route, out-breaking route, and House doesn't stay outside. House got confused on the coverage. You can see he slips and fall down, but he's the defender that has to remain outside to take away that route by Stevie Johnson.
And House has been very good for Gus Bradley, especially of late. Rare mistake that he makes in that secondary. Rivers on 1st and 10, and he is slinging it. First catch of the day from Malcolm Floyd. They pick up a dozen and another San Diego 1st down.
Tight coverage by House, but House still gives up the play. Now House is playing over at that left corner. Demetrius McCray had given up the catch over on the sideline against Inman, and now House has given up a couple of plays, and Phillip Rivers has got himself a pretty good-looking drive.
Floyd sustaining that shoulder injury back in Week 9 in the Monday night game against the Bears. Had an extra week to rest with the bye. Here's Gordon scurrying inside the 10, approaches the 5, tackled by Puzlesny. And a San Diego offense that looked completely flat in the loss against the Chiefs last week. Right now, marching down the field.
And what's the big difference? I think the big difference is the offensive line and giving Phillip Rivers protection. And Rivers has been real good down inside the red zone. 3 for 3 already today and looking to go 4 for 4 here.
And keep in mind, they're doing this without their 2 starting tackles, both King Dunlap and DJ Fluker, out today for San Diego. Rivers underneath. It is caught by Woodhead inside the 1. With 1:40 left in the quarter. And a 3rd and goal.
It's a good throw, good catch by Danny Woodhead. He's coming right here on that slant route underneath House. Able to make that catch.
But it's coming back. A penalty called against the Chargers. Couldn't hear Jerome Boger. His microphone was inaudible, at least from our vantage point up here in the booth. So penalty called nonetheless against San Diego. They'll mark the football just outside the 10. And now we're told it was an offside. Offsides, I believe, against the Chargers. So 2nd and goal after the penalty from just outside the 10. Rivers from the gun again. Fakes underneath that time, just trying to.
He just spiked it to save himself. He didn't feel good, didn't feel like he could run out of there. He felt the line just collapsing around him. And once he lost vision, he was like, you know what? You're not hitting me. I'm just going to dump it. And you could do that as long as you can get it back to the line of scrimmage while you're standing in the pocket. Or get it close to an intended receiver, I should say.
3rd and goal. So it was a false start penalty against San Diego. There was no marker on the field. Bizarre play. Now the Chargers trying to respond. 3rd and goal. Rivers staying in bounds, throws end zone, incomplete. So Jacksonville's defense will get the hold that they needed as they'll try to limit the Chargers to a field goal. Look at Rivers jawing at that defense.
You know, the best combination, we talked about it, is Antonio Gates here and Woodhead out in the flat. However, they covered it very well on this play. Look, both are covered, and there's nowhere to go with the football. He's got to just throw this one away and settle for the field goal. Much better red zone defense that time by Jacksonville.
Mike Cyphers to hold for Josh Lambo, 28-yard attempt, and it is good. So the Chargers build on their lead. It's now at a dozen as we play late stages here in the 3rd quarter. So we want to go back to the play in which a penalty was called against the Chargers on the Woodhead catch. You can see Antonio Gates lining up his foot in the neutral zone, and that is what warranted the penalty. Jerome Boger had his microphone malfunction, and so it was impossible to hear the call, but it was on Gates. And so San Diego's drive stalls. They're able to salvage the 3 points and build their lead to 12. They'll find the perfect gift for your favorite sports fans. Team and player apparel and gear for every sport, plus free shipping when you shop CBS Sports. Shop now, cbssports.com/gift.
Pretty cool place to be, right?
Temperatures in the upper 70s. Guys and gals just hanging out here at Everbank Field. Such a unique game day experience. So right now it is a quiet stadium with this offense struggling. And Jacksonville down a dozen with 60 seconds left in the quarter. End around play, Marquise Lee. Only his 2nd touch of the afternoon. Picks up 10 and a 1st down to get the drive started.
And this offense is struggling because, look, their 2 talented young wide receivers have not been able to create big plays. Been held at bay. As you can see, the 1st quarter got off to a good start, but only One reception for 4 yards for both players since the first quarter.
Inside of 40 seconds, this is Denard Robinson. A wide open hole right over center. 19 yards for Robinson and a first down as he's brought down by Weddle.
Yeah, Weddle makes a touchdown-saving tackle at the 3rd level of the defense. And look at him just staying in front, making sure he keeps his head up, get Robinson on the ground. But they ran off the right side of that offensive line for Jacksonville, did a really good job. We talked about this Chargers run defense, and you can see right there, a little leaky on that play.
380. 387.
Jacksonville snaps the football after the game clock had gone to zeros.
This is the end of the 3rd quarter.
And that'll take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. So much hanging in the balance for Jacksonville. They're down 12 on CBS. So Blake Bortles in the 4th quarter has both excelled and struggled. 6 interceptions thrown in the 4th quarter, most in the NFL. Yet he has orchestrated 2 game-winning drives in their last 2 wins.
Mike 52, go to 56.
Yeah.
Hey, Ricky. 380. 387.
Bortles on 1st and 10 goes underneath. That's Thomas. Taking on tacklers inside San Diego territory. And brought down after a pickup of 5.
One of the more difficult things, Spiro, in the National Football League is to take a group of young players like what Gus Bradley has with the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2nd-year quarterback, 1st-year running back, 2 second-year receivers, a lot of young players on defense, and then learn how to win, more importantly, to learn how to win consistently. Very difficult thing, and that's why we're watching some of these young players grow up before our eyes.
On 2nd and 5, this is Robinson again. Robinson, the former collegiate quarterback at Michigan, had that big run a moment ago. We go to New York in an update with James Brown.
Mistakes can hurt you.
Yes, a punt, offside on punt, kept the drive alive as Tyrod Taylor finds Shady McCoy for the 10-yard touchdown reception. Buffalo narrows the gap. Kansas City up 24-22.
As an ex-player, I know Solomon knows that. Back to Spiro and Solomon.
Yeah, JB, yep. Made a mistake a time or two. It happens. You got to be able to bounce back as long as there's time on the clock.
And we will be in Buffalo next weekend for the Bills and the Texans in another game with all kinds of postseason implications. Big 3rd and 1 play here. This is Rashad Green suddenly taking on a bigger role in the wide receiving core. 3 yards on the catch and run, and it's enough for a Jacksonville first down.
I watched the blocking by the 2 receivers outside, Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. Look at that. And this is what you do when you have a speed player like Rashad Green. All you got to do is just flip him the ball with that wide receiver screen, allow him to catch it and run, and he can make a play for you.
2nd catch for Green today. Ended the day just 10 receptions for 37 yards on the season. On 1st and 10 over the middle, Bortles to Yeldon inside the 40. And this is where Yeldon is so dangerous. Not exactly bowling you over with his rushing numbers on the season, but he's a multifaceted player that can catch it with a lot of effectiveness out of the backfield.
He can catch it coming out of the backfield. He's very good in terms of his pass protection. I've seen him pick up blitzing linebackers, remain stout at the point of attack. And you can see what those numbers are in terms of his ability to run it and catch it. 74 yards from scrimmage today.
Sets up a 2nd and 6. 7th play of the drive for the Jaguars. Bortles firing over the middle, incomplete, intended for Hurns. Excellent defensive recovery by that San Diego secondary.
Patrick Robinson looked like he knifed under the play, and sometimes you can undercut the play and get into that passing lane. That ball is going to be complete to Allen Hurns, but if you can undercut it and get in between the receiver and the ball, that's when you can make the play. Nearly almost had himself an interception, but really good coverage on the play.
Robinson coming over as an unrestricted free agent from New Orleans in the offseason. A 60-year corner out of Florida State. Bortles from the gun. This is 3rd and 6. Goes far side. High pass is stabbed out of the air by Thomas. 7th catch of the day for their tight end. 11 yards, and a huge first down.
How about this? Thomas goes 6'5". Jason Verrett 5'10". So yeah, you expect a 6'5" tight end to be able to win that battle. Former basketball player out of Portland State. That's making a play for your quarterback right there. Excellent play by Julius Thomas.
Well, his season started slowly. Broken hand that he sustained in the preseason opener. Missed the first 4 games of the regular season. But he is starting to come on now. 7 catches for just under 80 yards on the afternoon. 1st and 10. Bortles over the middle. It is incomplete. Intended for Brian Walters. Had a defender flying right at his legs. And you see Walters give him that little look at the end of that play.
I think that was Jaleel Wadday who was able to knife in and was able to hit Walters and knock that ball loose. Walters going to make this catch. And look at this right here, dropping the target line. I thought that was a really good play, good recognition by Wadday, because had you hit him up top, now you get a penalty for a hit on the defenseless player.
It's a good, clean defensive play by Wadday to set up a 2nd and 10. Play action from Bortles, flushed out of the pocket, tucks it away. Chargers giving chase, and they get him from the back. Ricardo Matthews, as Bortles manages to pick up 3 yards on the play, making something out of nothing.
Yeah, good coverage downfield, but this is that something extra that we talked about that Bortles gives you. And if they're not hustling on that play from behind, Ricardo Matthews, he's going to have a big gain on that play. Critical 3rd and 7 here by Blake Bortles and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense.
See their 3rd down numbers. Bortles needing a play. That wobbling pass is batted down. What a defensive play. That San Diego secondary with a huge possession. Steve Williams getting a hand on the football. Pass intended for Allen Robinson.
Yeah, if you're Robinson, now you got to try to get underneath the defender, come back to this ball. Instead of drifting on the play, at some point you've got to stop and try to get some separation. In my mind, I thought the defender, Steve Williams, I thought he was in good position. He remained on top. I didn't see a stretch or tug of the jersey, didn't see holding. There was some hand fighting there, but I didn't see an attempt by the receiver to try to get separation. Now they're going to go for it on 4th and 7.
You like this decision?
I do like the decision, considering what the score is.
11 minutes left. They take a chance. Thomas catches it and is into the end zone. So Gus Bradley's roll of the dice pays off. And he breathes new life into his Jaguars.
I love the fact that they can understand the matchups. Now watch Weddle. He's got man-to-man coverage right there on Thomas. But then watch Thomas. He recognized that Weddle has man-to-man. He gets outside, and then watch him get back underneath and inside. And Bortles throws a strike to Julius Thomas, who made 2 big-time catches on this drive, including this one for a touchdown.
2nd straight week. Thomas has a touchdown, won the game here against Tennessee last week. And for Blake Bortles, 11th straight game with a touchdown pass, a new franchise record. Brand new game on CBS. Julius Thomas enjoying his best game as a Jaguar. He's now 1 catch away from tying his career high. 2nd straight game that he's got a touchdown catch.
He'll take the season high, 8 catches, 99 yards, right? I mean, they've been waiting for this guy to show up. And boy, has he done so. He was great on that possession.
Give all the credit to Gus Bradley rolling the dice on a 4th and 7 play. And his quarterback capitalizes on the 21-yard touchdown strike.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Honda. Hurry in for great deals during Happy Honda Days. Amazon Fire TV. Change the way you TV. And by T-Mobile. Ditch your carrier and switch to the Un-carrier.
St. John's River, beautiful downtown Jacksonville. Actually one of the few rivers on the planet that flows to the north. You see these second half possessions for Phillip Rivers and this offense. 5-point lead for the Chargers with just under 11 minutes left. Sparrow Dita, Solomon Wilcots, rest of our CBS crew from Jacksonville. Stevie Johnson on 1st and 10. First down, catch and run. Tiptoes up the sideline, walking a tightrope as he's finally forced out of bounds, a pickup of 20.
Now we talk about the bubble screen. You want to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. This one right here. Lusney can't catch it. It's too fast, too quick. You can see the explosive playmaking ability of Stevie Johnson on that play.
Can the Chargers end this long 6-game losing streak? A team that has not won since week 4 on October the 4th. That victory at home against Cleveland. First down pass for Inman incomplete. Coverage on the play by Demetrius McCray.
And now Phillip Rivers trying to put some cushion in between their team and Jacksonville on that scoreboard. And getting rid of the ball quick. I love the tempo in which they're coming off the ball and executing their offense.
Rivers has time, up the seam, it's caught. That's the tight end, Ladarius Green. First time we've called his name today. First catch of the day for Green, and it's a big one. 19 yards as they get the first down.
This is that same touchdown play that they had to Antonio Gates in the first half. It's that 7 route to the tight end against Cyprian. This time it's Green who's running the route, not Gates. But the tight ends have made plays against this Jaguars defense.
And what a pass. Such a great view by our cameraman here in Jacksonville. Look at Melvin Gordon trying to fight his way for extra yardage. That was the 7th different receiver who's caught a pass in this game, as Rivers now spreading it around, just under 300 yards passing. Jaguars telling us that their safety starter, Josh Evans, has a possible concussion. He's been taken inside and now being put through the concussion protocol. We'll get you an update as quickly as we can. 2nd and 7 from inside the Jacksonville 40. Sergio Brown replaces Evans. Rivers goes far side of the field trying to find Gates. Covered on the play by Cyprian. He's playing in front of his family, who's made the trip, his mom, dad, and 2 sisters, as well as his older brother here for Thanksgiving weekend.
They went back to that route, and right now Cyprian's got to do a better job of staying on these tight ends, whether it's Ladarius Green, whether it's Antonio Gates, because as you see Frank Wright, they're going to go back to that. They felt like they should have had Gates on that play in man-to-man coverage against Jonathan Cyprian.
3rd and 7. Rivers steps up in the face of the pressure. Incomplete. Intended for Malcolm Floyd. It'll be 4th and 7.
If the protection holds up, they're going to have the play that they want. But you can see Phillip Rivers can't get there. Now watch, you're going to see Gates going to come here. He'll get open, even though that ball is going to be thrown to his right. But there you see, look, Gates comes open there, but he already had to get rid of it.
And how about this decision from Mike McCoy? A Chargers team that's lost 6 straight. Setting up as if they're going to go for it on 4th and 7. Rivers. Here come the Jaguars. Rivers trying to buy some time. He'll try to run for it. Lunges for the first down, and he's got it. Brilliant play by Rivers. He runs for 8 as they move the chains.
And see, they go to sleep on Phillip Rivers. They don't look at him as a mobile quarterback. So they're just getting up the field. They have great coverage down the field, but that what we call that second level of the defense, there are no Jaguar defenders to keep him from getting to that first down mark. All you have to do is just be fast enough to gain 7 yards, as he was able to do on that play.
The 33-year-old quarterback playing in his 155th consecutive game, lumbering for the first down.
As you told Gus Bradley that Phillip Rivers was going to hurt you with his legs,
San Diego.
he would have bet against you.
Play clock was about to wind down, so they burn a timeout in a 5-point game. High above Everbank Field, it has been an intense 4th quarter. So much riding on the outcome of this game, certainly for Jacksonville. Game out of first place in the AFC South. We've seen both coaches go for and convert. on a 4th and 7 play here in the 4th quarter. On 1st and 10, they keep it on the ground to Danny Woodhead. Both coaches trying to do whatever they can, Solomon, to give their teams a chance to win.
And Phillip Rivers doing everything he can to help he and his football team break a 6-game losing streak. Phillip Rivers using his legs to make plays on 4th down. Wow.
He has run for 2 first downs in this game, something you don't see often from Rivers, the 12th-year quarterback out of North Carolina State. Rivers had only 10 rushing yards entering today. On 2nd and 8, it's Woodhead. Ducks inside the 20, and that is enough for another San Diego first down as they pick up 11 through the air.
And they were able to get him coming across the middle of the field, just in front of the linebackers, but beyond the first down mark. Woodhead's been really good. They've been working that combination between Woodhead and Gates, Woodhead and Darius Green, and still finding room to get completions. Now they're back inside the red zone.
Jaguars desperately trying to hold them to a field goal.
Come over here. Rush Phil.
Field goal would give San Diego an 8-point lead as we come up on 7 minutes left. Draw play to Gordon on 1st and 10. Once again, breaking the initial tackle. Brought down eventually by Puzlesny, but Gordon has been slippery today. He picks up 6.
He's looked good. He's been able to create some tough yardage inside, make the first defender miss. And I think he keeps stress on the defense. He's such an explosive player, and he's bound to slip a tackle and really hurt you.
As impressive as you can look when rushing for only 36 yards so far in this game. On 2nd and 4, quick strike, little bubble screen. That's Stevie Johnson. Chargers need the 7 for the first down. And Johnson is very close. It'll set up a 3rd down here. Johnson with his 6th catch for 87 yards.
And the red zone has been the story of the day for Mike McCoy, Phillip Rivers. He's eating time off the clock, and yet he's still knocking on the door for more points.
3rd and 1. Rivers locates Woodhead. They've got the first down. It'll be 1st and goal. Telvin Smith on the tackle, and Rivers knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football.
Yeah, he's over to that side. This time they matched him up with Malcolm Floyd, but still he's able to get to the perimeter of the defense. And Telvin Smith is fast enough to get over there to make the tackle, but not so fast where he can keep Woodhead from making the catch.
6th catch for Woodhead. 39 yards, and now precious seconds coming off the clock.
Well, this is, if you're Jacksonville, this is where you need a turnover. It's hard to coach him. You've got to be opportunistic. You've got to be able to make the play. Rivers is going to throw the ball in this area of the field at times.
13th play of the drive that began at their own 20. That's Gordon. Good push from that defensive front, led by the 2nd-year linebacking stud, Telvin Smith.
Yeah, and this is why they're going to have to throw it, ultimately, to get it in. Only 2 rushing touchdowns for the San Diego Chargers. And they have not had a rushing touchdown since week 1 against Detroit.
Both of those scores coming from Danny Woodhead. 2nd and goal. Under 5 minutes left in the 4th. Rivers going end zone. It is caught. Stevie Johnson for the Chargers touchdown.
He told you they were going to throw it and found himself another weapon in the end zone. Rivers has just been money down inside the red zone today. Stevie Johnson's going to line up in that slot. There you see he fakes like he's going out. Puzlesny is matching up with him, or at least trying to, but both feet. Did he get that second one down? Yes, he did. Maintain possession of the ball through the fall. Remember, he made contact with the ground. This is one of those plays that he's got to maintain control of the ball, even though 2 feet are down. Now he's going to the ground. He's got to maintain control and possession through the fall after he makes contact with the ground, and he did.
Boy, marathon drive by today's standards in the NFL. 14 plays, 80 yards. They cover more than 6 minutes. Phillip Rivers, 4 touchdown passes for the 7th time in his career.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway, the legendary sweet onion chicken teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Sun starts to set here in what has been a beautiful day in Jacksonville. Phillip Rivers now moves into a tie for 11th most touchdown passes in his career. Stands shoulder to shoulder with Vinny Testaverde after passing Joe Montana back in the first half.
Yeah, it's a pretty distinguished list of names. Phillip Rivers, something tells me he's not done yet.
Also the 44th time in his career Rivers has thrown for better than 300 passing yards. Reminder coming up next, Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers set to battle Russell Wilson and the Seahawks right here on CBS Sports. Tough season it's been for Russell Wilson and Seattle. The quarterback comparison, Roethlisberger gritting his way through an assortment of injuries. That's coming up next on CBS.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson, I mean, all the complaints is about who he's dating. I never knew that could affect your game. Never affected your game, right, Spirit? You bring a game.
I haven't had quite the issues that Russell has had in that department. I mean that in a good way, but always unfair when these players' personal lives are targeted by fans. There's Julius Thomas, and now this Jacksonville offense lineman in rush mode with under 5 minutes left. They've got 2 timeouts, and right now down 31-19.
And they've got to operate quickly and strike big and push the ball down the field.
Bortles on 1st and 10. Goes underneath, over the middle, completes to Yeldon. Yeldon trying to get to the 45, brought down by a host of San Diego tacklers after a pickup of 8. To New York and an update with JB.
Turnovers hurt.
Following a Derek Carr fumble, Marcus Mariota is going to find Jarlston Fowler for the 1-yard touchdown catch. Tennessee regains the lead, 21-17 in Nashville.
Back to Spiro and Solomon.
All right, postseason races heating up with some critical games around the NFL here in week number 12. That's the tight end Clay Harbor, his first catch of the day, only his 10th reception of the season. And that'll set up a 1st and 10. So a good-looking drive here as we move under 4 minutes left.
Well, they're moving. They're getting the matchups and the looks they want from this defense.
2 scores down to the Chargers. Bortles low pass, and that is incomplete. You see Hearns kind of clutching at his right knee. And as we told you earlier, he is banged up. Foot injury. Also a core injury that he's talked about over the past couple of weeks. Yet to miss a game since he was signed undrafted out of Miami. Such a gritty player for Gus Bradley as their trainers, athletic trainers, come onto the field. Injured Jaguar is Allen Hearns. Now, this was the play a moment ago. As you see players now from both sides taking a knee, athletic trainers onto the field.
Yeah, Jimmy Wilson closing in, but see the helmet, it sort of jams right into the ground there, and then you don't see anything there, no real movement from him there. And as customary, they always want to take precautions there. You have a head injury and helmet makes contact with the ground at that kind of force. You've got to do everything you can in regards to the player's safety.
Now, this kid has built such respect from opposing players in such a short time. Only his 2nd year, undrafted out of Miami. We had a chance to ask Eric Weddle about Hearns in our meeting with him yesterday, and he was gushing about how impressed he's been, how nice it is to see a kid, undrafted, have the success he's had, and just to see someone who does it the right way rewarded with some incredible play. And now the concern not only from Hearns' teammates, but from Weddle and the San Diego Chargers as well.
The players all around this league, whether they're on your team or their opponent, this is a meritocracy. Everything is based on merit. And here's a guy that, wasn't drafted, as you mentioned, but has really worked his tail off to build a career in the National Football League, become a player that opponents really respect. And you just can only pray that he's going to be okay.
Athletic trainers being as cautious as they can. There appeared to be some movement from Hearns just as his body kind of rolled and put him on his back. And so you can see his right arm just kind of come up limp at the end of the play. Contact came from the backside. Looked like a knee hit him right in the back at the end of the play. It was Jimmy Wilson, the safety, coming over. And you see that right arm just kind of go limp. Scary look at the end of the play.
Yeah, I think, the head. Watch the head, the face, and the helmet slam right into the ground there.
And you just hate to see this now. Players from both sides coming onto the field. We'll take a break. Under 4 to play here in Jacksonville. All right, Allen Hearns just wheeled off just seconds ago into the locker room, and this was the sign everyone was hoping for. You can see him moving both of his arms. Great sign. And now a red challenge flag has been thrown. This was the other part of the play. San Diego is going to challenge, and if they win this could potentially be an interception. You see the football come loose at the end of the play.
San Diego is challenging the rule on the field of an incomplete pass.
Yeah, that ball was just resting on top of Allen Hearns. And you mentioned that both of his arms kind of went limp, but the ball was just sitting there, and the defender came and scooped it up. And so we don't know that the ball ever hit the ground. I think we're going to take another look at it. Now, we had kind of showed you that his head had hit the ground. Now, did the ball hit the ground there? Now, watch. See, the ball's just going to be sitting there, and watch the defender. It's going to be 24, Brandon Flowers, who comes and scoops it up. So if that ball didn't hit the ground there initially, then they're going to have to call it an interception. See, the ball is just sitting there. Now, unless it was on the ground initially when Hearns went down to catch it, then it will have to be ruled an interception. Now, the play on the field, it was called an incompleted pass. So that means we're now going to need indisputable visual evidence to the contrary of that if they're going to overturn it.
You see the football at the end of the play. It was resting right on Hearns' front side, and then it was just kind of picked up from there. So it never hit the ground after the initial bobble. And that's the question. Was it incomplete? And did it hit the field before it got to Hearns?
I think it's too hard to tell, to be honest with you. Now right now we know that the ball is resting on him.
No, did it hit the ground there as well? So a lot of different factors to consider here for the officials. Jerome Boger is our referee. The other thing to keep in mind here, Solomon, if Jacksonville maintains possession, now you have to play without Allen Hearns, who's been such a lethal target for them. Marquise Lee will come on in his place, but first a call from Boger.
After reviewing the play, the rule on the field stands, incomplete pass. San Diego is charged a challenge and the second timeout.
All right, so the challenge that McCoy felt like he had to take, a good decision there. So they'll take away one of San Diego's timeouts. 3:44 left, and now a race against the clock in the scoreboard for Jacksonville.
And McCoy had plenty of time to think about it during that whole procession where they were taking care of Allen Hearns. He had, a chance to have his people take a look at it and try to see if he wanted to risk losing a timeout to challenge the play.
Stadium very quiet after watching Allen Hearns, one of the bright young stars of his team, carted off the field just moments ago. 2nd and 10. This is Bortles, flushed out, going to tuck it away, run it himself, slides ahead to the 35. As he picks up 7, Mike Carey, our officiating expert, confirming to us that there was not indisputable evidence, so he backs that call that the officials just make. And here we go, 3rd and 3. Certainly 2-down territory for Jacksonville. Over the middle, that pass intended for Walters is incomplete. And now really no choice but to go for it on 4th and 3.
Yeah, you certainly have to go for it. Bortles moving around in the pocket, trying to find a throwing lane to get that ball over to Walters. Overshot him, because I thought he had Walters open coming across the middle. And so you got to have protection. I think it depends defensively. Do you want to come after Bortles? Because You know, at a 4th and 3, he breaks loose. He can run for it himself and pick up the first down.
Biggest play of the day and maybe the season for Jacksonville. 4th and 3. Near side, it's caught. That's Robinson, first down and more. Ducks inside the 30. Clock continues to run. 3:05 left and 2 timeouts in their back pocket.
They were blitzing Bortles on this play. One-on-one coverage on the outside against Patrick Robinson. And Allen Robinson's able to win on 4th down.
Second 4th down that they've converted in the second half. The first was a 21-yard touchdown strike to Julius Thomas. Fresh set of downs inside the 30. Bortles, a pass getting away from him, intended for the tight end Clay Harbor. And again, you can't overemphasize, Sam, the importance of the final 2:41 here. The Texans have won. One of the teams that Jacksonville's chasing in the division, and the Colts are about to win at home against the Bucks.
Yeah, and if you're Blake Bortles in Jacksonville, you just keep swinging. Try to get a touchdown here. Extra point. Maybe you can get another, or excuse me, onside kick. Maybe you can get another possession. Still close the distance on the scoreboard.
Bortles on 2nd and 10. He loses the sack somehow, but they get him from the back. That pressure coming relentlessly was Kendall Reyes who gets there for San Diego.
Yeah, and it looked like he was going to break and pop through here, but look, Reyes stays with it. He backtracks and comes from behind to get Bortles and get the sack.
Second sack of the season for Reyes. And now 3rd and 11. Bortles off the seam, batted down and incomplete. Intended for Rashad Green. Patrick Robinson, who had the big play earlier with another defensive gem.
Robinson makes a nice play. Look, he doesn't undercut this one. He comes over the top. And look, nearly takes the ball right out of the hand of Green. Looked like Green had it and didn't hold on to it. 4th and 11. Like they're going to try to work to the right side of the formation where they have trips, what we call a bunch formation, try to shake someone loose.
Does Bortles have some more late game magic? 4th and 11 underneath Denard Robinson. They need the 18 and he won't get it. The San Diego defense, so maligned during the course of the season, able to get off the field with a turnover on downs.
Not so sure Bortles liked that play selection, because he was forced to just dump this one down to a much smaller Denard Robinson. He cannot win against 3, 4, or even 5 defenders there to hit that first down marker. Eric Weddle was the first to arrive, but he had plenty of help as the troops arrived.
Jacksonville side has told us it is a concussion for Allen Hurns, as they continue to look at him inside the Jacksonville locker room. 5th career 300-yard passing game for Bortles, 4th this season, but that's the furthest thing from his mind at this point, with this 2-game winning streak in serious jeopardy. Longest run of the day for Melvin Gordon, 14 yards and a San Diego first down. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, this is the updated picture in the AFC South. The Texans have an easy win today at home over the Saints, so they are now at 6-5. They've won 4 straight. Colts are up comfortably at home against the Bucks. They approach their 3rd straight win. Jacksonville still faces each of those 2 teams. They'll close the season in Houston in Week 17.
Well, you still got to hold your own inside of your division, and that's what Jacksonville has to look forward to.
Some movement pre-snap. Tyson Alu
False
upset.
start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
You know, it's different. It's one thing, Sam, when you look at this Jacksonville team, it's one thing to fight your way to get into this position, and it's another thing to play when there's actually some pressure on you and a postseason berth is within your grasp. They had a chance today. San Diego team that came in really struggling, 6 straight losses as Gordon tries to bounce to the outside. But this will be a golden opportunity that the Jaguars let slip away.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And you've got to be able to defend your home turf. If you're Gus Bradley, Blake Bortles. And they had early opportunities in this game down inside the red zone, could not execute. And, this is what they're looking at. Very crowded field of those teams that are in the hunt for a wild card spot.
Buffalo right now playing in Kansas City. They were down 8 in the final 2 minutes of that game. They will be home for Houston next Sunday. We'll be in Buffalo for that game. As the postseason picture really starts to heat up now, which is 5 regular season weeks left after today.
Remember, we talked about it, a very young team trying to learn how to win and trying to learn how to win consistently on a consistent basis. And I know Blake Bortles looked forward to going up against an elite quarterback like Phillip Rivers, but today Phillip Rivers was flawless because he had great protection.
On 2nd and 15, they'll just try to run that clock down as much as they can. We asked Bortles about Rivers, and the first thing he said was longevity. He's been so great for so many years in the NFL, such a respect. And he has watched Rivers tie his career high today with 4 touchdown passes and not a single pick. This is the upcoming schedule, remaining schedule for Jacksonville. We mentioned the game against Indy here in a couple of weeks, and then the regular season finale in Houston. 2 games that they have to have if they've got any chance.
Yeah, 3 of those 5 games on the road. The last 2 going on the road. So tough sledding, right? For Gus Bradley's group.
Well, there are very few coaches in this league who could survive 25 losses over a 2-year period. Gus Bradley has been one of them. Such an infectious personality. And one of the rare head coaches who has been able to...
False start. Offense, number 28. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
One of the rare coaches who's been able to keep his guys positive. Such a good vibe when you walk into that building despite all of the losses that have piled up here over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he does a really good job of teaching his players, getting them ready to play and getting them ready to play hard. As you well know, the next phase for this team in terms of their race to maturity is being able to win, being able to close out games in 4th quarters. And, maybe against a team that's really, even though the more veteran team is San Diego, having lost 6 in a row, coming here, over Thanksgiving weekend, if you're Jacksonville, you've got to be able to win these games.
On 3rd and 13, more penalty markers come flying. As Melvin Gordon approaches 60 yards on the ground.
Illegal shift. Offense. The entire offense was not completely set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
All right, Jerome Boger getting his money's worth here at the end. Can't seem to get a snap off here. Mike McCoy certainly upset. They declined the penalty, so that'll make it 4th down here. And McCoy has seen enough of his offense, continues to bark at his guys. Chargers will punt.
Telling his guys after a shift, after that kind of movement, you got to get set. You got to get set quickly. No one back to field this punt, so that means they're going to come after it.
Maybe the only chance that they have left, and they block the punt. Football is loose inside the 25. Jacksonville recovers. So the decision pays off for Gus Bradley.
Looks like Hayes Pillard, 52, was able to knife in and block it. And they're going to try to scoop and score, but Pillard is the guy that came through, the rookie out of USC. Right up the middle. What a play. Well, they rolled. They put all the chips to the center of the table there, didn't they? They didn't have anyone back to field the punt. You knew they were coming after it, and they were able to hit home, now in a position to score.
It was Peyton Thompson who fell on the football. And now here we go inside the 15, 1st and 10. Underneath, that's Rashad Green. Heady play to get out of bounds and stop the clock. $1:25 left. The Jags out of timeouts as they pick up 6.
Look at Blake Bortles. They're in a position to get points on the board. You know, they had scored 20 points or more in 5 of their last 6 games. Up until that block punt, they were in jeopardy of not being able to put 20 on the board here today.
And if they can put one in here quickly, they've got a chance. That throw, end zone, caught. Robinson for the touchdown. And this one not over quite yet.
Well, we told you he had that huge pass catching radius. 6'3", 210. Plucks this one off the head of the defender, Patrick Robinson. Robinson said, hey, I'm doing all I can to keep this guy off the ball. And Robinson contesting all the way to the ground. But watch how Allen Robinson goes up, gets both hands on that ball, and just cradles it closely and tightly for a touchdown.
Allen Robinson, 8th touchdown catch of the season. And they miss the extra point. Won't make a huge difference. Needed a touchdown either way. As Jason Myers has struggled with his point afters all season long. So a 6-point game. $1:21 left. No timeouts for Jacksonville as they will line up for the onside kick.
How about that? They're an onside kick, recovery, and a touchdown away from capturing the lead. Now, you got to execute this if you are on the hands team for the San Diego Chargers. But take a look at that kick. He pushed it to his right. Let's see if he can execute his onside kick. Typically, what the kickers want to do is pound that one into the ground and then have the ball take a high hop over the first wave of the hands team. And hopefully they can get someone down there to grasp the ball. So they're 0 for 3 so far this season on onside kicks. Let's see who can execute the best.
Six-point game. Jason Myers lines up for the onside kick. 1:21 left in this 4th quarter. Ball is loose and batted out. Wisely done. Looked like Stevie Johnson.
Ball never traveled 10 yards. First of all, it has to travel 10 yards in order for Jacksonville to be able to recover the ball. It's not even eligible for them to recover it unless it travels 10 yards. It means it's got to get right around the 45-yard line.
It looked like the football was already out of bounds when Johnson came over to try to bat it out. You saw Allen Robinson also there. Entire hands team on the field for Jacksonville. And at that point has not traveled 10 yards.
And it's hard to tell if the ball had crossed out of bounds right there. He's pretty deep on the other side. This will be an interesting ruling.
At that point, it's out of bounds when Johnson comes over and bats at the football.
The ruling on the field is that the ball was batted sideways, which is not a foul. First down, San Diego at the out of bounds spot.
And a sideways bat, according to the rule book, is permissible. Not what it is what it looked like to us here from our vantage point. All right, let's bring in Mike Carey, our officiating expert from New York. Mike, take us through. What are the officials looking at here?
Well, they're looking at, was the ball touched by an inbounds player? The Charger clearly touched the ball. It went out of bounds laterally, not forward, so it's last touched in the field of play by the receiving team, their ball at that spot.
Okay, that's Mike Carey, our officiating expert from New York. $1:20 to play, 4th quarter. You see Phillip Rivers and the offense onto the field, so the call is confirmed. And San Diego will be able to run out the remaining minute and 20 seconds And so this one will end in frustrating fashion. Gus Bradley continues to jaw at the officials.
But you would think that also, if you're Gus Bradley, you got to get a better kick from your kicker. You got to keep the ball on the court, so to speak. You don't want that ball going out of bounds. You got to keep it in the field of play and beyond that 45-yard line to give your team a chance to recover the onside kick.
Ball did not get the necessary 10 yards on the play, and it will be a mere footnote as the San Diego Chargers come to Jacksonville, spoil the Jaguars' party, and they end their long 6-game losing streak as they win for the first time since week number 4 back on October the 4th. 31-25 the final, as San Diego gets to 3-8 and Jacksonville will fall to 4-7.
Oh, the San Diego Chargers were able to right the ship behind the leadership of their quarterback, Phillip Rivers. No, he's carrying this team. We asked, can he continue to carry them? Boy, he was able to do it today. Got a lot of help from special teams and from his defense.
Again, your final: San Diego 31, Jacksonville 25. Coming up next, Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers taking on Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Now for Salman Wilcots, our entire CBS crew, Spiro Dinas saying so long from Jacksonville. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50.